What's going on, y'all?
I'm just making sure I'm muted. Hold on.
Who we waiting on? Who we waiting on?
All right. You got all kinds of people up in here.
That sounds extremely sarcastic, Miss Plummer. What's going on, y'all? Everybody in the chat. 15 in here so far. I think we'll grow here in a minute, probably. Sherry, Loretta, Peach, Backwoods, Ghetto, Wizard, everybody. What's going on, y'all? Fawn. So basically tonight we are talking about defending the community, rabbit holing pretty much anything from shooting ranges to gun towers to whatever, just to see where we go with it. The concept we're still working on, I can't show the picture, but it's basically a 40-acre plot of land is what we're with right now. Perfect straight, perfect square. So that's pretty much what we're going with. We don't have anything established yet, but that's the land that we're working with. You know what I mean? Yeah. It's basically flat. We'll say that for the most part, it's flat. So
hopefully you find the right spot in Missouri for flat land.
It's one of those rare finds. I found it on Land Watch. And I was like, hey. So I just took the pictures and I was like, that's a good reference point. Straight lines is always easiest.
You know what? Well, go ahead. There's a lot. Where are you looking at? Just curious.
Right now it's pretty much south of 44.
Okay.
Pretty much from Springfield to the Boot Hill, south of 44. In that kind of.
Man, that's a hard area too.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, just because you start getting down. Well, I mean, in my area, it's hard. Anyways, I got you.
No, you're good. You're good. Shit.
What's up, everybody? Everybody in chat, aka Porn Stash Prepping, brother. Backwoods, you keep messing around. I'm gonna change my name to Porn Stash Prepping.
Right. Might as well. We'll give it a few minutes of bullshitting with the chat, and then we'll jump into it. Because I already know there's going to be 50 people that jump in and they ask the exact same question because they were 2 minutes late. So. Sorry, y'all. Starting off slow. I took a nap this afternoon. My ass. I'm too young to be taking afternoon naps.
No, you're not. You're never too young for an afternoon nap.
I wake up feeling old as hell.
That just means you've got shit to do later on, and you're resting in between. You're utilizing your time, man. Okay.
Is that what it is?
If anything, you're already a step ahead of most people, because if you can nap during the day and get in where you can get in your sleep, you're already ready for the apocalypse.
Right. Pretty much, yeah.
Because it ain't like you're gonna have a bedtime.
Yeah. Okay, I guess we'll go ahead and get this thing kicked off and see where it goes. Chat, feel free to jump in with some ideas. So I know basically I want a shooting range is an absolute must.
Yeah.
So off the bat, that's guaranteed there's got to be a shooting range. But the only thing I can think of that would really actually be, say, 300 yards. Is that a decent enough size for a good range?
Honestly, personally, I would go on a 40-acre plot so you can utilize as much land as possible. I would do 100-yard range, right? Do 100 yard. You could do a berm on the outside edge of the property, which kind of also acts as, somewhat of a deterrent, a defense, whatever. But you could put a berm on the outside, and you could do something, put targets on the outside, and do 100 yard. And anything outside of that you want to do further, people are going to have range finders and all these kinds of things. So as you send out patrols and you send out things, mark areas, like fixed targets that are out in the area, and use that, man. Just an idea.
Yeah.
So if you wanted to go out 300, 500, for whatever, you could sit there and start tagging stuff. And it's just still targets. It's not like it's a moving target, but it's long distance training. And then up close, you can still zero everything, and you can still do maneuvering and transitions and a lot of really good training 100 yards in.
So you figure what is it a higher percentage of close range gunfights than it is long range, like within 100 yards, pretty much?
I mean,
for the most part, right?
Well, I mean, in the military, people are going to shoot as far as they can for a lot of different things, depending on what they're doing. I mean, everything's situation. I hate saying that, but situation dictates. But yeah, I would say most people are going to get in confrontations that are well within 100 yards. I mean, you're thinking a football field. Right. So most people are going to be like, oh, I see them, and try to sneak, and everyone's, doing whatever. Someone might just blast off, but no one's going to see someone 300 yards off. Well, I wouldn't say no one. Most people aren't going to see someone 300 yards off and just start engaging, because you lose a lot,
right.
unless you're a good aim on moving targets.
Well, I know I do, like, say you got like a 308 sniper bolt action, just old school, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
What would the range you would need to have for an actual, like not a full blown 50 cal Bushmaster or something, you know what I mean? But a decent sniper type.
Well, okay, so you think in Missouri, right? For one, and a lot of it, people got to think about where they live. We got a lot of trees, a lot of forestry areas around a lot of hills. So you take something that if you can get targets marked at like 600 yards, maybe 800 yards. I mean, at the most, because a lot of people, you got to think it's hard to make 800,000 yard shots. It takes a lot of skill and a lot of practice. But you have something that's marked out 600 yards, and you have somebody become proficient with a bolt action, you could put them on the perimeter and do security with them. So,
because I know for the most part, I'm thinking, because like it's like I can't remember exactly what the dimensions are, but perfect square. It's pretty much sidearm shotguns and ARs would pretty much take care of anything that would get close enough to the perimeter in the first place, and anything inside. Sidearms and shotguns seemed like they would be the logical choice. I don't know, because I mean, just for the fact that they're cheap, you can get you can get shotguns all day long for 200 and less. The same with like like high points and stuff like that. You can pick those up for $160 all day long.
You can. I'm for high points, because people that don't have the ability to afford anything have an option. I hate high points for obvious reasons. I mean, they're not always that reliable. They'll break down on you. And if you're wanting something that's going to have some kind of longevity, especially in a apocalyptic situation, unless you know how to do some gunsmithing and some work on it, I'd find something that's more reliable.
But I'm saying as like a mass product. Hey, we need to stockpile. Let's go ahead and get 50. Just in the arsenal. You know what I mean?
Well, I mean, you could find, let's say you want a rifle platform. You can find, what is it? Anderson, which is a super fucking cheap. Oh, sorry. It's a super cheap lower. Right? It's a super cheap lower. And you can find really cheap parts to put something together. Palmetto is a notably cheap brand, but it's not terrible quality. You know what I mean?
Right.
Cheaper rifle. So you can find stuff that's that way. I like I was saying, I'm for high point. Hey, Bug Out, what are you doing in there? I see you.
I am dropping the link for Bug Out right now. Bug Out only, y'all.
Hey, Bug Out probably just jumped in. We already talked about it. You're too late to the party, bro.
Yep, we're done now. Shit, we've been done for 5 minutes.
No, I mean, I get it. There's a lot, but it's even as a community, you guys can pitch in a lot to shoot. Well, if you build a freaking AR-15 for under 500, you're going to get that. There's not a lot of precision or good parts that are going to be for under 500. For a whole rifle, you know what I mean? And that's including some kind of iron sights or optic, because you're going to have something to be able to sight in on a target. But I mean, I get what you're saying. You can build an AR-15 for under 500. You can buy them at gun shows for under 500, but they're usually, like I was saying, Anderson lowers. They're really, really, really cheap ones, and just cheaper material parts. But
I know there's some, like I had a Jimenez, and I did some looking on it, and it said it had like a zinc frame. So they said it's only pretty much expect 500-600 shots is pretty much all you're getting out of it. One of those kind of situations.
Wow. Oh God, he's here. I gotta go.
Yeah.
What's going on, man?
There's skills you can learn too.
Let me catch up real quick to you guys. The rangefinder POTB.
Yeah.
That's exactly what I was going to tell him. But known distances, and really, to be honest, a 50 or a 36-yard zero, if you're talking about ARs, and actually 308 you can do on a 50-yard zero, you could almost get away with an actual established lane that's 50 yards if you had to. But 100 is good because shooting 100 yards, that's what most people are comfortable with shooting at. Mm-hmm. But doing the rangefinder and known distances, and if you look up the concept of a range card, anywhere that you can set up as a hard point later that you would shoot from, you take that rangefinder, you shoot it, you say, okay, that tree with the weird little Y in it, that's 712 yards. And
Bugga, I'm not going to try to stop you. Back up and explain what a range card is.
That's what I was just doing. You basically draw a picture of what your perspective of what you would see from that position. So someone like let's say Josh, he's like, okay, the guy who's going to come here maybe doesn't know exactly what I know or what I'm looking for, but I'm going to tell him what he's going to need when the second that the shit goes down, he's going to go, oh fuck, I want to shoot over there. How far away is that? Well, he already thought of it. He made a card that he's laminated, and he said, if something's by this tree, it's 700 yards. That hill is 300 yards. And the whole little map just has distances wrote down on it. So when you have that bolt action rifle, you know in your reticle which little check mark to use in your, especially if you got that ACS drop like the Cyclops that Primary Arms has. I love that. I love that optic. And but anyway, yeah, sorry that. Right, now we're up to now. Dude, Anderson lowers, I could honestly give a shit. I haven't had a single problem with Anderson lowers. It's the uppers, dude. The barrel and the uppers is the gun, you know? And really, to be honest, barrels, you know? I'll take piece of shit lower parts.
Yeah.
Go in Sons of Liberty, get a couple of springs, polish that turd, throw a cold hammer forged barrel on the top, and you got yourself a hair splitter. You know what I mean?
For 5.56.
Yeah. I mean, I thought that's what we were talking about.
No. I'm with you. He was also talking about bolt action and stuff. But yeah, I'm with you, man.
And dude, to be honest, man,
range cards is a huge one. That should be a note everyone should take. That's an excellent point.
If it's daytime, bro, you give me 4 beers and a Mosin Nagant, and we'll just kind of see what happens, you know.
A 100-yard range is really good for sighting in bolt action rifles too, for like 6.5s and 308s and things like that.
So and you know, before you need to start putting up like marker flags and stuff for like wind direction, is that worth doing inside?
Yeah, it is. And to be honest, man, you throw your "Don't tread on me" flags or whatever the hell you're already doing, you can just use those, man. You know. Yeah. Like, so they won't even know that you're using a windsock, you know, like you want to kind of disguise that if you're past this point, you're in range idea, you know what I mean? But yeah, you know, the heavier, okay, speed is king, but also the heavier the bullet, the less it'll be affected by wind. So the whole trade-off between all these bullets, man, what they're trying to figure out is how to get the heaviest bullet to the target as fast as possible so it's not deviated by wind or gravity or whatever, you know what I mean?
Maintain the most velocity at target.
Yeah. And then recoil comes into the picture, follow-up shots and all that stuff, because you use a 300 Win Mag. You're like, man, this is the best bullet ever made. Well, you shoot it and you're looking at another zip code because the thing kicks like a mule, you know what I mean? And where that Carcano hey, check it out, you can ventilate JFK 3 times before the thing, even shifts gears. So, who knows what the right answer is, man? But if you got flat ground, when you were talking about a maximum distance for the bullet, if you're using 30-06s like you were talking about, you want to have some glass, at least on one or two of those big guns. You want to be able to touch at least 600 yards with those. But everybody else, man, most that you're saying, what's the distance of most firefights? If we're not talking hill to hill or something like that, 100 yards is about where people are comfortable to start shooting. But if I was attacking a location, I'm going to try to get outside of that range. So now we're talking 300 yards. So you want to really be confident shooting at 300 meters, 300 yards, meters, whatever. You know what I mean?
It's probably more dynamic than that too, because you're probably not attacking it by yourself. You've probably got your own little goodies with you to attack with you. But hey, that's a whole rabbit hole you can go down, man. You're talking about ballistics and everything, man. You're about to get like hardcore.
The defenders hold all the cards, man. Attacking is stupid, and that's where everyone says, well, I'll just be a marauder. Really? So you're going to take your kid that's 6 years old, put him in the car seat, drive to somebody's fucking defended location, park somewhere, and say, hey, kid, here's some golden grams. I'll be back in a minute. And you think you're going to go and like do something? No, man.
Well, marauders don't always have to be solid kinetic, man. I'm just saying. I'm only saying that because I guarantee, I bet you over 50% of preppers in the communities will become marauders. I would bet money on it. And obviously I can't collect on it, but I'm just saying most people have all this stuff. Not everyone's going to keep their stash. People are going to lose their shit. Houses are going to burn. People are going to have to jet out without their stuff. So many instances are going to happen where people are stuck without provisions. Hence the reason that community is a great idea, because
and what you're hitting on, dude, and this is funny because you just said community and I wasn't even thinking about where that was going. But the reason why you're right is because 90% of people are in the wrong location.
Yeah. So
that only, man, it was like you did that on purpose almost. You're a step ahead of me. But yeah, man, if you're in the wrong spot, it's really smart to have at least half of your shit at the place you want to be. And I always say, assume you're going to show up in board shorts and flip-flops, Yeah. Like if you got 2 rifles and you have a bug out location where it's someone that you trust, put that crappier gun that just sits around and collects dust that you don't even take to the range anymore, put that in the bug out location. So if you show up and you lost everything, you got something. Put that crappy surplus pistol, that Argentinian Modelo 1911 that you bought because it was on sale at the gun show, put that thing in the bug out location, Dude, I have some shitty Nagant revolvers. I love them because they're so ugly and stupid. And they're the worst guns ever made. And that's why I had to own it,
Yeah.
But dude, I dropped that thing in an ammo can in a big giant block of concrete and built a porch out of it and just hammer the thing out if someone ever took all my guns. Not saying I did that, but
no, I'm with you, man. There's there's infinite amount of scenarios that could happen to you. So, but yeah, it's good to have stuff spread around.
The other thing is, how many people do you have? Because, dude, physical security is a labor-intensive, not necessarily labor like you're not moving sandbags and breaking big rocks into little rocks, but it's intensive because you have to have people covering angles all the time, And that,
the concept that we've got so far in the 40 acres, I think we're roughly, we'll just say 60 spots. So that could be an individual person or a family up to 4 per spot. You know what I mean? So it's about, let's say roughly 100 people, somewhere in that range.
You gotta
I don't want to get ahead of this because I'm sure this is probably something you want to talk about later. I don't want to get out of syntax. I don't know the order of how you want to talk about this stuff, but an idea that I had, let's assume this property is shaped like a square or a rectangle, right?
Right.
That's how most plots are. If you take that square and draw a cross through it and cut it into 4 pieces, right? You could have living areas in those quadrants where people that aren't dedicated security if they live in this and you can put people in these areas to make sure that you have coverage where the gardeners and your people that like mend clothes and all that stuff, they could all have a secondary security responsibility in the event of an alert or an emergency, where they report to these hard locations where like you have a sandbag location on top of a building, and if the shit goes down and because there's a secondary attack and diversions and all that other stuff. If there's someone's responding, your actual security guys are responding to something in one corner of the property. It doesn't mean that there's not a secondary coming in from another corner while they're kind of doing the whole Trojan horse thing and distracting you. So people can respond to these security positions, and if it's quadranted out like that, people know that their area is that part of the property, and they go there in an emergency. So then your security forces double, like almost instantly, the second something happens.
Right.
That's all. There's also the posts you guys have, and you know what I'm
Right.
talking about. So let's say you had a squared property, and what's the most common thing? Put posts on the four quarters because you get this, and then you can put one halfway through on each side, so you have 8 posts, and then you can have an internal one, maybe 2 or 3 internal ones, right? Not all those are manned. As long as you can cover and conceal and have some kind of concealment in there, like some netting and stuff like that to block and obscure. When people switch posts, they don't always go to the same post. They go to different posts and things like that. So people can't keep up with it because maybe this corner's coming down and the midsection's coming up over there. And when they switch around, so not everyone's going to be manned. They can't tell all the time which one's manned because they're obscured, right? And you've got the post constantly changing and rotating. So it's not just the times that are rotating, it's the positions that are rotating, and you're still covering all your sectors, but you're not giving them an idea of exactly. They might say, oh, there's a corner post right here, we got to take them out. No one's even going to be there that time, and now everyone else is alerted. You know what I mean? Like there's
Right.
Well, the other thing is fringing out your living areas. Like if you have groups of people, like a cluster of people, just the fact that they're living there automatically would make them an LPOP of sorts. You know what I mean? So having people kind of like, you have your center, if we're talking a communal type community, there's going to be the center of the property where a lot of stuff happens. You know what I mean? That's where you're like, possibly you're a big kitchen and all that other stuff going on. You know what I mean? But on the fringes, you can have capable people, like let's say a dude who he knocks down annoying, unnecessary trees and splits them up, and he's just a firewood collector, right? That guy can live out sort of towards the edge of the property. So when that guy's reading a book in the middle of the night and he hears something, he goes, "What's that?" And he goes and checks it out. Like you already have an extra security person just by having a person there. And that's something that I've been kind of thinking about over here, where it's like where you put people will also up your odds of security. So you can put stronger, non-dedicated security people kind of not all on the very edge, obviously, but you can kind of put them out sort of in that direction to where if shit goes down, you got another swinging dick that's close by. You know what I mean?
Right.
Well, see, the plan was basically just the simplest form would be right on the property line, clear out 10 foot, enough to where you could get a side-by-side or something through, and then it would just be like a butt-naked barbed wire fence, as the starting point around the entire thing. Kind of gated entrance, one way in, one way out, maybe a second way out. We haven't got that far yet, but pretty much 4 watchtowers on, one on each corner, and then basically each watchtower would have a bell or some kind of spotlight, because with the tree coverage we got here in Missouri, you're not going to be able to see. One tower is not going to be able to see another tower, so you're going to need some kind of noise or a light system.
Flare guns, dude. Flares, man. Flares are amazing for that.
But then there's going to be, so basically it's 40 acres altogether, and 5 acres of that is going to be community living. It's not all massed into one. It can be separated, like you were saying, because, some people don't want to have neighbors. Okay, so you go to the back corner, one of those kind of things. But 5 acres total kind of deal. But there's going to be community buildings, the shower house, the chow hall,
right,
and things like that. And all of those could pretty much be made to where, you don't put too much of a pitch on the roof, or even if you just build kind of like a deck thing on the roof, that's enough. That would pretty much cover anything inside of the community area, minus the residential part, you know, because you figure the cow fields, the crops, and all that shit. If you're standing on the roof of a building, you can pretty much see through all of that, you know.
Yeah, and that also offers that I think the official word is command presence, I think is the word. But let's say you got some yahoos on some mopeds and they're like, let's go steal some stuff, and they roll up kind of close to this compound and they see people on towers and roofs, and people are walking by and people are responding to them and like going to the perimeter, and they're armed. They're going to be like, shit, let's go somewhere else. Half of your problems, just when they see that you're wired like that, they're going to keep moving, because it's so much easier to go to the next place, you know.
Hard target and soft target.
Yeah. But you got to still remember, though, this isn't the end of the world yet. So it might detour civilians, but that'll bring in all kinds of attention from, you know, government agencies. Like, why do these sons of bitches need watchtowers? You know what I mean?
You can get materials ready for a tower and put it up in a day. You don't have to sit there and have anything in a fixed position, and you can upgrade over time. So you could have, I mean, let's say you had your berm set up for your range, and then on the side you had some fenced off area for like a obstacle course and some kind of a training area for people to get some physical activity or whatever. You could have stuff stacked up over there. So you could put up some beams and some sandbags or dirt bag, whatever you want to call it, and be able to set up some kind of improvised position and then upgrade it over time.
Or you could make a stair tower in a Connex box that's on its side, and they could be sitting proper like how a Connex box would sit. Get your pad done, and then when the stuff goes down, you can winch that dude up, and then you got yourself a 40-foot tower. You know, you can cable it down. Nobody needs to know until the day of. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like the towers wouldn't even be there until it happened. You know.
Would it be more practical to just get like one of those scissor lift or a bucket lift kind of things that gets you about 20, 30 foot that you can just basically a tow bar, you hook it onto a hitch. You know what I'm talking about?
Just shit, anything would work, dude. Having a stack of freaking telephone poles, man, you could probably just bang a couple of those down into the ground and like build a tree house up there. I mean, you know, if observation is all you're worried about, I mean, and you know,
it's observation, but also, you know, I don't want it to be blatantly obvious. You know what I mean?
I'm just saying, think of any freaking outpost that's ever been created in a foreign country. It starts with dirt. I mean,
yeah,
there's just it's dirt piled up, and then it's HESCO barriers and all these things and sandbags and whatever, and they start creating, and it literally just becomes better over the years. So you'll have something that looks just ghetto as hell, and then all of a sudden you'll add an ammo area and all these other kind of little, you know, stations and whatever, and you'll create something that's pretty smooth and smooth flowing and looks nice. But
your best cops are the shitty ones, you know. Like, you know, you look at them and you're like, people live here, and like that's the good one, you know.
Right. See, that's the deer stands. I like the idea of the deer stands, but you can, how high do you get in a deer stand? You know what I mean? Is that,
well, how high do you need to be is the next question. I mean, like, if there's no hills, the smallest amount of incline is going to make a huge difference, you know. And if you go too high, you're going to crest, and then you become a target. Like, imagine trying to climb down a ladder of a deer stand while there's like 3 yahoos taking pot shots at you, you know.
Yeah.
But load bearing, man, like that improvised stuff, you're gonna be a soft target in this tower. It's not gonna be like, you know, it's not gonna be the Terminator by any means. Like, that's another thing to look out for too.
Yeah.
There's gonna be a time where being in that tower is a bad idea, you know.
deer stands are about 20 foot. Oh, can be over 20 foot.
Most deer stands, though, they're like very minimalist, man. Like,
it's a seat and stairs, and they offer you enough to very like slowly draw a bow back, and
like day in, day out, you're not going to want to spend 4 hours up there, 4 hours on, 4 hours off, 4 hours on, 4 hours off. You're going to be dying, man. You're getting fucking blood clots and all kinds of shit, man. Like, you want something where you can chill out on,
Yeah.
And really, to be honest, I think really, if you're trying to hide it, just building a structure that you could put another thing on top of it, that would be the way to go, probably, for some of them.
Another huge defense that goes outside the community is going to be just pushing out a pair or three, 2 or 3 guys or women or whatever, pushing them out to an area and having a different area. And you could have something that's not built up, but they go out a half a mile in one direction, and then they, look, listen, smell, all that kind of stuff, and they stay there overnight. And they can lay down, and they can bed, and they can cover themselves, conceal themselves, and just be eyes, ears, nose. And then now on that whole entire sector, you don't really have to have as much because you have early warning,
And your distance for that, because is exactly what I'm trying to do over here. There's one major way in. If you're coming in here with a vehicle, there's only one road that you can take to get close to where I'm at. You will drive on this road if you're coming here with a regular vehicle, and that is like, how close can I get and how much advance warning will I have? All depends on the range of our radios, because what's the point of having somebody there if they can't tell somebody when they see something?
Yeah.
And that's where, like, having those little goal zeros and stuff, if you can power something that's got a little bit of punch to it with a good amp, as far as radios go, that's where Anarchy Television would be great for that topic, probably, but yeah, having something that has a lot of balls to it where they could let you know if something's coming. And the sooner they do that, the sooner advance warning you have, to where they're not seeing people scrambling. They're seeing people already there when they show up on you,
So obviously, hardline would be the way to go. Do you think it would be? Would it definitely be worth it to have like a CC TV type? I guess like an intercom system wired to.
Oh, dude, like some old Chinese field phones or something. That would be awesome for post to post, and then having your J box in that center area, the communal area. Put your J box in there and wire everything to the center. That would be fucking cool.
Hey, how much power do you think you really need to run a direct line from a post to a COC or anything like that? You could probably go out to some of those lights that have solar panels that literally.
For field phones? And field phones don't take much at all.
That's what I'm saying. Dismantle them, and you could have freaking. What is that? Your
unibrow slip to your lips.
Well, how many volts is a D battery? Is it 3 or 1.5?
1.5 volt is a double A. I think 3 volt. Wait, what do you say?
A D battery, a D cell. How many volts are those?
I'd have to look it up.
Because I think the not the KY57 like encrypted phones, those took more, but the regular field phones, I want to say they took 4 D cell batteries, if I remember right.
Yeah, they're all 1.5 volts.
So that we're talking 6 volts.
AAA.
Those old field phones ran off of 6 volts. You could, if you had like a Goal Zero, the smallest Goal Zero solar generator, you could power that thing indefinitely and charge your tablets and your laptops on it. You'd be fine.
How much would you lose? And I guess it wouldn't really matter though, would it? Because it's the main power source.
Hey, no matter what, plan on it failing. That's why you have a PACE plan. So every single thing is going to have one. You're going to have a primary, alternate, contingent, and emergency. So if anything's going to happen, your primary is going to be like what you guys are setting up, what he's talking about, getting the batteries and everything to power it up and go. And you have everything set up that way. Right when he goes out, you have an alternate. So it's going to be a runner. It's going to be, you know what I mean? It's going to be something. It's going to
a runner and a Baofeng, Like you take this bicycle and you get as close as you got to until you're in range. And then,
Yeah, keep clicking it.
Oh, and dude, bicycles, man, that's another thing. Like bicycles are like in this idea that you have here, we're talking 40 acres. Man, it should be like little kids in the 80s, man. There should be bicycles everywhere, you know?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
This is like one of the best subjects in my mind, just because it's so fluid. There's so many things you can do, and it evolves and just creates something off of each other the whole entire time. I love it.
So
you,
as far
you
as
can never be too creative. You can do stupid ideas, but you can never be too creative.
right, not
Oh,
and
dude, like,
ideas
so
only
talking.
stupid based on
Oh,
the
go ahead.
situation.
Sorry, man.
I was saying the idea is only stupid based on the situation that you put it in.
Yeah.
What
Yeah,
you
talking
saying
about bikes, dude. One of the other ideas I had. So your dedicated security people, and that's a roster that you don't want someone to constantly be on perimeter security because you slowly lose your mind. You know, it's boring as fuck, right?
Yes.
And so
People fall asleep.
imagine like you have an away team and a home team. You know, so your away team. We're not using the word marauding, but like if you find abandoned structures or stuff like that. Now, in The Walking Dead, they show up and there's 9,000 cans of baked beans in there and they go, good, we can support the community for another month. That's not going to happen. What I'm talking about is you find abandoned structures. Okay, now here's the problem with abandoned structures. If you got a structure that's a mile away from your place and it's abandoned, if someone's going to attack you, they could use that as a staging area to get their shit together. And then from there, they push out to go towards you. Well, if that structure were to go away, it's not there anymore. You know, now, if it goes away, look at all the lumber, all the pavers, all the bricks, all the wood burning stove or whatever was in this place. You can deconstruct that, take it to your place and use it to augment, repair, or maintain the buildings that you already have, you know? So like this away team would be doing these kind of operations where your home team is like man in the rails, you know? Well, someone twists their ankle out there. Someone's bored as fuck. They're starting to fall asleep all the time or whatever. You got to switch these dudes out and you got to keep them fresh on the wire. And then your away team, they have to be in perfect health and shape because like they're going to be moving around a lot. Like there might not be anything on the docket. So what they're doing is just doing a patrol around this area. And they're, you know, when you hit your waypoints and nav it out, like these guys might be walking for 9 hours, you know, they might do 9 hours of walking that day, carrying a combat load, you know? So like, you know, it's definitely not a walk in the park or anything, but like, you know, that's what you're doing today. You know, everyone should do something every day, you know, but that security guy, he's just being alive and watching, you know, he's just facing this direction and he's looking and listening. And like, dude, it gets fucking old, man. It really gets old.
People get complacent really fast. I was going to say, Rabbit Cavity sit there and said radios are easy to intercept. I've said it a lot. Get a scanner. Have a scanner. And if you're one of those outside, listening posts or whatever you want to say, have a scanner on you because just like you're saying, radios are easy to intercept. And if you have one out there and someone's using those cheap ass Walmart little mobile freaking radios, you're going to pick it up and you're going to be able to hear people talking on their way and communicating. If they're spread out, if they're all together, you'll hear them and see them talking together. So
is there a Baofeng or a walkie-talkie / scanner to where you can do both talk and listen, or would you have to change frequencies?
I think a lot of them are all different. Don't quote me on it. I don't have I have a scanner. I don't have a Baofeng or anything like that. I have one dedicated to just scanning.
Two different devices.
Well,
it'd be the way to go.
If you have a chirped out Baofeng that has your channel set and all that other stuff, you're not going to want to mess with that to try to do scans. Having a dedicated scanner would be the way to go for that. You know what I mean?
All right.
Dude, Chirp, if you can get it to work, if you can even get it to work, I already salute you because most of the software that's included is made for a Windows Millennium or 98 platform, and who has that anymore? You know?
You talking about for a scanner?
Say what?
You talking about for a scanner?
No, for the Baofeng.
Oh.
And there are some people out there that have an NT2000 platform for Chirp, but I've never seen it. I've never seen that program. So like my stuff is not set up through Chirp. And it's funny because there was a guy, I just was talking to him on, he just did a video about it. It's like Black Conservative Patriot or something like that. I'm trying to remember his name and I'm going to get it wrong. But he just said that he got with this group and they used Chirp and they programmed all their radios. And I was like, dude, like, where do you live? You know, like I will fucking drive there. You know what I mean? But yeah, I just had this conversation, oddly enough. But yeah, once you get that radio program, dude, you are not going to want to expose that Achilles heel and mess with it, if you know what I'm saying.
Right.
It becomes gold at that point.
What's the practical applications for a CB radio? Obviously, the distance wouldn't be an issue, but as far as it has to be CB to CB, doesn't it?
Well, or anything that can pick it up. Baofeng can hit CB frequencies. A Baofeng's a good personal radio to have. It pretty much touches all of it, you know. Frequency wise, a Baofeng can do it. The whole problem is programming it. Now, without programming it, you can have two frequencies easily that you can switch back and forth to, you know. So if you can have a guy that can operate with two frequencies, then you're good right out of the box. You don't have to do anything to it, you know. And all the toys, they all come from China and they're cheap. They do break, but like, you know, if you do one is none and two is one and all that, whatever that crap was that the Navy said. Dude, I have like twice as many antennas as I have radios. You know, I got long ones, I got short ones, I got in the middle ones. You know, it's like closing time at the bar. You know what I mean? But you know, depending on what you're doing, if you're working inside of a building, you don't need an 18-inch antenna getting in the way all the time. You can put a little stubby guy on there because you're only going like, you know, 60 yards or whatever. You know, I'll switch my antenna out depending on what I'm doing, you know. And but a CB, dude, the cool thing about CBs is, you know, you get a badass amp on there. Those things can really punch out. Those things can reach out and touch you. You know, that's why truckers used them since, you know, God, the 70s, right?
Yeah, I know. My old man had a
Had 'em.
whip antenna, like a giant son of a bitch, and that thing, it had a good 30-mile range on it. But that was, you know, that was back in the 80s, so I don't know if tech is consistent.
I want to add one thing to the security, but it's also not. It is. I think it needs to be. I think it's needed, right? Besides having a place for physical fitness to relieve stress, have some type of a bar with something you can do in there. Get a pool table. Collectively, I'm pretty sure a community can get a pool table or darts and some cheap shit like that. Because
we've already talked about that.
Oh, you have? Okay,
Yeah.
I'm terrible. Sorry, guys. I'm just saying, man, stress relief and decompressing is important. You sit there and go out and get some shit and come back and you're just stuck in your little hovel with your thoughts. People are going to go freaking mad because not everybody understands how to deal with things like that when it happens the first time.
Right. Okay. So
well, you know what's funny, dude? Let me throw something on that real quick. And it's historical, so this is kind of nerdy, but whatever. There's a book called Ivan's War, and it is the Russian soldier's perspective of World War II. Okay.
Nice.
And most of the Russian soldiers were illiterate. They made them take the Pravda, and there was another political newspaper. They made them take one because they were required to read it, but most of the army couldn't read, so they just used the newspaper to roll cigarettes, you know? Well,
Yeah.
This guy was giving, the other background information is at the end of a watch, according to the Russian rules back then, at the end of each watch, you were given an ounce of vodka. So you got a shot of vodka as you got off watch. It was in their bylaws or whatever, you know what I mean? Well, this guy described how he fought the Germans, and in this battle, the guy blew up like 7 tanks. And they were like, how did you do it? And when he told the story, his time increments, because he didn't even know how to tell time, they were done in cigarettes. That was his time increments. And then how many shots of vodka he got was his day markers, you know? So it was really weird when I read it, because I was going like, why does this guy keep talking about? He was like, I went to this position and I waited for 5 cigarettes. And then I went there and I waited for 6 cigarettes. And then when I was over here, I waited for like 20 cigarettes. So I was there for a while, you know? And I was like, why is this guy doing this? And I thought about it and I was like, wait a minute, this guy can't even tell time, you know, like
Yeah.
he's using his cigarette consumption as his time measurements, you know. And then he was like, yeah, I was over there fighting these guys for 2 shots of vodka. And so I'm like, oh, I get it. You know what I mean? I'm starting to figure out what he's putting down, you know?
Yeah.
So yeah, that is a good post marker. Like, you know, you get off, you're kind of trying to amp yourself up. You're probably down in a shitload of coffee. You're doing all this other stuff. You get off of a watch. Now you have, like, if you're going to sleep a proper amount of time, you have 4 hours to work out, to shit, shower, shave, whatever you're going to do, to eat, you know, you got all this stuff to do. And then suddenly you're like, okay, now I need to be asleep, like right now. Well, that's where your bar comes in. You knock down a drink or two, get a little drinky poo in you, and then you lay down in the rack and you're out, you know?
Yeah.
Kind of functional. It's mechanical. It's like actually beneficial to the flow of things if you're the type that can just have 1 or 2 and quit anyway. You know, I mean, there are some people that can't do that, but
Hey, the community controls that, because some people just need a nudge.
Right.
And,
Okay.
and some people need to, man, look at that. What is it? It's the bugger. It was the British, I think. Correct me if I'm wrong. It's the British that go to Germany and other locations on the way back from country, and they basically get locked away for like 24 hours, get drunk and fight each other, and literally decompress, and then come out and go home. Isn't the British?
oh man, I've heard people talking about that before, and it's weird because I was with the British a couple times, but
Yeah, it's been over a
I
decade.
don't know.
I'm pretty sure it was them.
I know the Australians like to fight everybody. If you're ever on Liberty in Singapore and the Australians ask you to go out with them, just say no.
Why?
Because they want to fight everybody, dude. They want to fight everybody. And I don't understand what it is about that place, but whatever it is, when they go somewhere else, they want to fight everybody. It's weird.
Yeah.
You know, after they get that magical 17th beer, it's like 14 beers at Chili's, you know?
Mm-hmm.
All right. I'm going to segue, y'all.
Yay.
So obviously both of you guys have had to do this. Does it make sense to have, obviously there would have to be a designated militia, for a lack of a better term, within the community. There'd have to be a weight room, you know, things like that. But as far as an obstacle course goes, is that a thing that is a must, or is that a thing that is, hey, that'd just be nice to have? And then what kind of dimensions are we talking about?
Nice
can this
to
be
have.
done on like an acre of land or something? You know what I mean?
Yeah, it's not nice to have. I would agree. You know, obstacle courses are like, I mean, if you're trying to do all this CrossFit type stuff and you're out there getting it, but man, you got to figure like, let's look at averages, right? You're gonna get a dude,
Yeah.
man in the perimeter that worked at a Best Buy his whole life. You know, the guy never really got in shape at any point of his life. He's a military age male. He's in, or female, you know, like whatever it is, you know, they're not like out of shape, but they were never what you would say in shape either, you know, like, and now suddenly the shit hits the fan and you're saying like, here's an obstacle course, like own it. Like, man, we're lucky just to have people that are willing to stand out there and do it. Like there's that happy medium. Well, now what I do think is going to be a problem is cardio. Like there's going to be a lack of cardio in this environment. There's going to be a lot of people walking around and stuff, but I think focusing, if you were to set nest eggs aside, a cardio solution before an obstacle course solution, if that makes any sense, you know?
Right.
And you can actually, we could turn the cardio, especially if it's exercise bikes, hook it up to alternators and generate electricity while people are on the bikes. Like, so they could actually be contributing to the power, you know, to the banks while they're doing their cardio. That could actually be like, do your duty and, you know, do your hour every day or whatever. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I've looked into that because they got the ones where you can sit down. So if you got,
Mm-hmm.
you know, 30 old ladies in there having a sewing meeting and stuff, we're like, hey,
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah. That's what I'm, dude, you just hit me in the G spot right there when you said that.
A lot of the obstacle course too is going to be a for one, they're fun. whether you can do it or not, because there's a lot of people that can't do it that still eventually find it fun, or maybe they hate it because they'll just never do it. But they're fun. They build morale and they build confidence in competition. You know what I mean? So when a whole bunch of us guys go and or girls, whatever, go and do this obstacle course, a lot of it's fuck you, I'm going to beat you to the end because everyone wants to dominate each other and all this kind of stuff. So a lot of it's very competitive. It's just a sport. You could do the same thing and probably get the same thing out of a basketball court instead of having that, but there's a show of a lot more athleticism if you're having to climb a rope and you're having to do things and if you're going to have a security team that's designated in your community and you're lucky enough that your community has grown so big, then at some point, I think it would be awesome to have one just to be able to sit there and let people compete and do things. And but it's not something you're going to do all the time. You have a great chance of having people get injured. That's why there's always got to be like some corpsman or medic or whatever there. But it's a great thing to have. And eventually, like I was saying, if you get to the point where you have so many people in the community, you're probably going to designate shifts that have to work out together. Right. Because you don't want to rely on someone. Well, people aren't reliable. Yeah. I mean, think if people in the chat and everybody thinks about themselves, even myself, right? I've missed the gym the entire last week. I'm a fat piece of shit, right? So I was not reliable. I didn't hold myself accountable. It's not always going to be there like that. But in a situation like that, I don't have the opportunity just to be a lazy shit, you know? I've got to put my work in. So having things like that to break up the monotony of just running in fucking circles and doing push-ups and shit, you know, whatever's available is cool. I mean, I think
the cool thing though,
an obstacle course. It's what you got the log walk, the rope, the net.
Depends on where you go. There's numerous ways you can say. If you go to the straight military one, you've got logs that you jump over, multiple logs that you skip over. You've got the poles that you have to get down, however, and you've got the ones you have to walk across. You have the ones that are high you have to roll over. You have the beams that are double beams that are high. You have to pull yourself up and flip over. The single one you have to flip over. You have the rope. There's so many different things. It's just seeing if you can have upper body strength and if you have the coordination to be able to lift yourself up and maneuver and stuff.
Your Marine Corps obstacle course, the things that you're going over, you're supposed to keep a low profile. The things you're going under, it's to get you used to getting your face in the dirt and scaling and doing your little wiggle crawl, you know. There's a purpose for all those exercises, which you could in a less expensive way, not imitate, but emulate those tasks. Like scaling a wall, I'm thinking if I had an obstacle course, I would want it to be a gear on obstacle course, where it's maybe a little less intensive, but you're wearing all your shit. So if you had to scale a wall, or let's say a chain link fence, because dude, a way more realistic obstacle would be a chain link fence because there's so fucking many of them out there. Like scaling a 6 foot tall telephone pole that's elevated. Well, dude, the 5 foot tall chain link fence is in almost every yard that you're going to come across. And if you have to get over that thing while someone's trying to put rounds down range, when you crest that thing, you're not going to want to be like erect when you go over the top of it. You're going to want to roll over the top of it because you want to be as low as possible. That makes more sense. You know, like some realistic shit where like if somebody just, your Best Buy employee that I was just talking about before, when you take them through this thing, you put all of their shit on, they can test their gear. You know, they're testing their gear as well as their body, you know, and they're getting used to having this stuff on, and they're getting used to like bonding with their shit. If they try to go through you set up a tunnel that they have to crawl through and they put their rifle on their back and the stock catches it when they go in and it chokes them. It's like, guess what? If you throw your rifle on your back like that, it's going to choke the shit out of you. And they're like, okay, throw the rifle in the front. And then they go through it and it works. But then they step on it with their knee and they're like, ooh, put it in the crook of your arm and then go through it. And now it works. And then they slowly figure out and then in real life, in a real situation, they innately know how to do this stuff and they're not choking themselves while somebody's shooting at them. You know, I mean, it would be real stupid to get shot in the face while you were choking yourself with your own rifle. That's all I'm saying.
Hey, that was some of the funnest addings to the obstacle course was having to go all the way through it with ammo cans and all the way through it with remember the dummies, like the 200 billion pound fucking dummies that we had to take. They're like 250 pounds or 25 pounds or something like that.
They're 180 pounds, dude.
Huh? Was it 280?
They're 180. But they feel like
180?
300 pounds. But by the time you get to the end, man, those things feel like they're 300 pounds. They're 180 pounds.
Oh, I thought they were over 2. Okay, anyways.
No, dude, it feels like it. It feels like it
heavy as
because
shit. It's dead weight, man.
you're spent. You're fucking spent, and you're done. And then like you can't lock your wrists, which I think is dumb because you can do it in real life. Why can't you do it while you're dragging a dummy? But whatever, you know.
So in theory, you could pretty much, if you had kind of like a high school football setup, you know, the field and the track around it, you could pretty much turn that track into different terrains. Yeah, you got rocks here, you got mud here, you got flat spots, incline, decline, you know, all on the track around, and then you can pretty much have the weight room and the obstacle course all inside of the track area.
Well, dude, Hutch, if you think about it, man. If you got your 10-foot standoff on your perimeter, I don't know what 40 acres would be like perimeter wise, but that's a pretty good clip, man. If somebody ran that and you have people on odds and ends, like let's say you're on watch and the floater shows up and says, all right, man, you got an hour. Or you got 2 hours even, you know, like depending on how many people are on there, you know, you got an hour, man. You go hit the weight room, go run. Well, man, you go run some or all of that perimeter. And dude, I don't know, man, 40 acres. I don't know. I'm on like this main little clip that I got here is like, it's like 16 acres. And I could run that pretty reasonable time, but 40 acres is like double that. I don't know, man. It depends on how rough the terrain is, but you could work a muscle group and you could run in that hour. And if the floater posts these people out, not only are somebody working out, but while they're running, it counts as a perimeter patrol. You know what I mean? Yeah. So like if someone's trying to cut the wire or trying to dig through the fence or trying to do something and a guy runs by and he's like, hey, what's happening here? You know, like you always have somebody kind of passing through. That's not a bad idea, man. If that's what you were talking about.
Yeah, pretty much. But then how would it come down to be? Because like the world ain't burning yet. So there's really no need for a full-time, you know, security force. But you
don't need it at all before that.
So like, is it a designated? A few people have said it. Is it like a once a week? Everybody in the community's got to have some kind of either physical training or gun training to a certain extent. You know, maybe 2 hours a week or something along those lines.
Oh yeah, before the shit hits the fan, like there's no limits. Man, let's put it this way: if I liquidated this property, I could probably put another fucking 40 acres right next to yours, you know? And like, man, if I had 10 people, like, and we had a year, I mean, dude, they would be fucking SEAL Team 6 by the time something kicked off, you know? Like, dude, time is a luxury, man. Take advantage of that time when you're not standing on that perimeter, losing your fucking mind, going through 8 million audiobooks. Like Danielle Steele, I'll take it. You know, dude, beggars cannot be choosers. But when you have all that time, man, why not get jacked? Why not get ripped? Why not get in shape? Why not get your weapons handling? Get all that shit, man. Like you'll have the time at that point, you know? And dude, really, if you're talking peacetime, like before the shit goes down, finding some kind of business, some kind of thing that you can do, you know, like, you know, the Dangerous Freedom Bracelet Express or something, you know what I mean? Like, but like something where like the people that are there are actually producing something that you're selling. That would be fucking badass. Make a mushroom farm or whatever the fuck, you know what I mean?
Yeah, we're getting into that. We're getting into it. Calm down, killer.
Cherokee.
I didn't even think of peacetime, man.
That is a lot of ammo. But like I am oh, go ahead.
No, go ahead, man. I'm listening.
I was just gonna say I am a big fan of the airsoft training and especially like how complicated would it be to get the because you can get like the laser things that go on the end of like real like ARs and shit, right? It's kind of
You don't want to talk about that. That's dumb. But here's the thing, man.
It was NTC, wasn't it?
Yeah, the Miles gear. Yeah, NTC has it. Actually, man, the Mount facility in Pendleton had it, but no one ever used it because it's stupid. Like it's not. It ain't all it's cracked up to be. Let's put it that way. But now with airsoft, man, the closer you get, the more realistic the training is. So if you're talking about like clearing buildings and small unit tactics, like in urban environments and stuff, it's good. But if you're going to go and you're talking your 100 yards, your 300 yard standoff distances, it's horrible for that. Like, don't even get someone used to the distances of an airsoft gun, because then they maybe won't take a shot that they could have took with the real gun. You know what I mean? But dude, if you're going in buildings, if you're going around buildings, cutting corners, slicing pies, all that stuff, airsoft is fun. And immediate feedback. You get shot in the hand, it fucking hurts, and you're like, hey, you got me. You know what I mean?
I was gonna say for Ohio prepper, it was you're saying every 2 hours a week, or everyone 2 hours a week is a lot of ammo. You can do 2 hours of training with hardly any ammo. Get dummy rounds, the snap caps and stuff like that, and integrate them within your magazine, so you're doing malfunction
failures. Yep.
So many drills that are limited ammunition drills that you could spread out 5 hours of training and spend 100 rounds. You know?
Well, and for me, man, and this is just me and POTB, I already know you're going to agree. So like, whatever.
Yes,
but
boss.
there's running the gun, and then there's shooting the gun.
Yeah.
And running the gun is, in my opinion, more important than shooting the gun, because
all manipulation.
The weapon is gonna fuck with you, because when you get in that stress environment and your hands get a little stupid and a little spongy and like weird, it's gonna try you, you know. And if you have that muscle memory for running the gun, as long as you keep that gun working and you practice your dumb movements, you're slapping the bolt release, you're doing all that shit, you're getting in there. Now, if the other person loads your magazines, you can run from 3 to 7 rounds in each magazine and have someone else load it and throw a snap cap in here and there, and they don't know how many rounds are in each mag. They throw the stuff, they run it, they're running out, they get that muscle memory of changing the mags, they're running out. You can feel if there's a stoppage. The recoil, if you shoot an AR enough, you know if your bolt is, if you're out, or if it failed to fire or failed to feed. It feels different in your shoulder, you know? So you know, like, where to look, where to go. Like when you hit that, when that bolt hits the what's the last hold, the hold open, that's what it's called. When the bolt hits that hold open, there's a squishy feel in your shoulder, and you know you're out of ammo. You immediately hit that button, you flick that empty mag out, you throw the new one in. But when there's not that feeling and it doesn't shoot, you're like, oh, that's not right. You immediately cant your weapon. You look into, you know, you're like, do I have a double feed? Is the bolt open? Is it closed? Like, what didn't happen that was supposed to have happened, you know? And boom, that's where your snap caps come in, because it'll push that round in and it doesn't fire. You do your immediate action, your tap rack bang or whatever, you know, brass F and all that other shit. But, you know, you get in the habit of doing that immediate action. And dude, in peacetime, you do these failure drills, you will spend the $80 on a fancy charging handle for your AR after you mess around with that stuff for a little bit. You're like, why would I spend? I can get one for $14. You'll drop the $80 if you actually train with your rifle. You'll do it. You'll be like, take my money, you know.
Get the grip easy. And there's a lot of people sit there when they're shooting, they think it's all about perfect groups on a target and speed and everything, and a lot of it, like you're saying, is manipulation. If you can't sit there and go through and do a malfunction in a moving target drill or something like that, instead of just taking 2, 2, and 2, you do 2, 1, reload, 1, 2, and you're done. You know, it's not always about how fast it gets done, but how effective you are. I'm just going along with you saying the malfunction drills are great.
And if you could, if shoot and no shoot is a good one, because let's say you're in peacetime training for wartime, now you have 40 acres. Hang on. Ooh, shit. There you go. But let's say you're responding to a threat and a friendly comes and they're from, let's say, to the west of you and they're moving eastward, and the threat that you're looking at, you're from the east and they're catty corner out to the west and someone's approaching you. You don't know if that's a friendly or not. It's like, how do you address that? You know what I mean? Like, these are the things that you can work on, like, now, so that it's not a problem then, because it would really suck if, like, your negative numbers at the end of the day, like, if you had a hand in that, it probably doesn't feel good.
For the plastic or steel mags, yeah, I'm all about the spring and follower. It's the most important part. Now, you're still going to want a good quality so you don't have split spines and all that kind of stuff, and they don't, like, get destroyed fast. But as far as whether they're plastic or steel, to me, I don't give a shit as long as the follower and the spring's good.
Well, if you buy and a good solution for this, I thought about making a video about this and I didn't, because I thought it was stupid and nobody gave a shit. But okay, so there are two ways to make loops for pulling a steel mag. The one reason why people don't like steel mags is they're slippery, So you make how Magpul got in business, how they first started was they made a little rubber thing you put on the end of your magazine with a little finger loop on it. But what we did before that in the old days, if you're older than fuck, if you're like how old Backwoods is, back in those days, there were two ways to do it. You either duct tape 550 cord around the end and made a big loop, or you made a loop with a knot and put it through the drainage hole of the metal Stanag, so that you can get your finger in there. Well, there's that. And then the only thing I would change from the original GI steel, that's called a Stanag, the only thing I would change, and that's exactly what you just said, Josh, Magpul makes an excellent follower, and it actually has a spring kit too. So it has the follower and the spring, and each kit that you buy, I think, is like 3 mags, and it's not that much. There's 3 springs, 3 followers, and you put the follower in and keep the spring, and then the extra springs, you just leave them in the plastic and just throw them on a shelf somewhere. And if you have a magazine that's starting to get squishy, pull that spring out and put the new one in. It's like, you can keep that magazine going forever. And I love metal mags. Everyone says, oh man, you can't use metal mags. They'll fail and they'll break and all this stuff. Dude, I took metal magazines in like 5 continents, and somehow, from the Arctic fucking Circle to the hottest deserts on Earth, like, somehow these metal magazines worked for me. So I don't know what this YouTube guy that's telling me that these magazines don't work. I don't know what kind of pot they were smoking when they said that, but I don't know, man. They work. That's all I can say.
And if you really want to, if you want to ghetto your mags up, you can take a sandpaper, so it's grip, and then attach it to the spine. You can attach it to the ribs and stuff on the sides. So when you grip it, you have something that's solid the whole time if you don't want to do the string. And I'm just saying that because people are at home in their shop doing this stuff. It's not that hard. You're not stuck in country.
Yeah. But the one thing I do like about steel, they're not always steel. There's aluminum, steel, whatever. But that whole, what they call the steel mag is like, dude, the British Enfield mags, and if you feel it, the American mags, they're not steel. The what is it, the L86 or the L85, whatever that is, the British Enfield magazines, I have a few of them that I got in Helmand Province. They're steel, they're heavy as fuck, and it's like you could kill somebody with it. You know what I mean? They're beautiful, don't get me wrong, but like, I thought I knew what a steel mag was until I had one, and I was like, oh, this whole time I got like some die cast metal Hot Wheels fucking magazine that the Americans make from OK Industries. Like, yeah, not the same thing, dude. When you feel a real one, but like, the mag pouches, if you're using cheap Eagle Industries like mag pouches that say this holds 3 magazines, and you put Magpuls in them, it's not going to hold 3. So it's going to screw your math up. That's another thing to if you're using steel mag pouches, stay on steel mags if you want to keep your counts right, because if you're carrying 210 rounds, you're carrying 7 mags, like, you got to run 6 mags on your gear if you're doing 210, and that's the minimum for a combat load these days, you know. So like that's just something to think about. Like you're going to run out of real estate, and you haven't even put your IFAK, your fancy little like boom pouches, your flashlight pouch, your you know, you haven't even put anything else on, and you got to make space for 6 magazines before you even start any of the other stuff. Not even counting pistol mags or any of that other shit, you know.
Hey, and well, backwoods, you already know this, I'm sure. But as far as like having the spine split and the spread of the feed lips and stuff like that, that can happen to any metal or plastic mag. It doesn't matter. We throw our shit around, and most people don't take care of it because we're all fucking and fucking beating our chest. So it's good to sit there and if well, for one, as of right now, check your shit every once in a while, make sure there's not a split and flared out feed lips and stuff like that, or crack in the spine. But even like when a shift is a real thing, when a shift is a real thing and you're actually having to worry about it, that's one of the things you want to check before you ever even leave the comfort of your little community space that you found, is making sure your magazines aren't fucked up. That's just saying.
There you go.
Popeye said they're called feed lips.
There's your snap caps right there.
I got some over here. Where are they at? Right there.
It's just kind of funny that like I just went in this room and I was looking at snap caps. I'm like, we were just talking about those.
I just bought some additional ones. They're good. They're freaking awesome training tool, man.
No, dude, they're almost indispensable because, you know, when you want your gun to fail, it never will. You know, like you have to trick it.
Oh,
I have heard of people using 380 rounds in a 9mm, but you really got to do Dr. Google on this because I have done it before and it works, but I don't know if it screws the gun up or not. So I can't pretend to be an expert. But like, if you put a 380 in a 9mm mag, it will shoot the projectile, but it won't cycle. So it counts almost as a snap cap, you know?
Except for not to be used inside your home. Hey, you can hear me, right?
Can I hear you? Yeah. I can.
Can everybody in chat hear us? I'm just asking. Hutch is going to be back in a minute. He had an issue hearing us. So he'll be back on. He couldn't hear either one of us.
Maybe he couldn't hear us over all the communism that he's trying to spread with this commune.
Now remember, everyone bring your wife and I have first dibs.
Oh, he should start a cult. That's the best way to get money.
Oh dear God. You're gonna build an awesome commune with a cult.
Dude, you get some true believers, man.
Hey, he'll be back in a minute, guys.
Like,
what the fuck?
If you're making a tactical compound, you got these guys that think for themselves and they're like wild cards, you know. You make a cult and you're just like the magical butterfly lady said you have to do this, and then they just fucking do it, you know.
Hey, Silverback man, as far as how many extra, it's not that much to have an extra lower parts kit, an extra bulk carrying group, and for like each of your rifles. Just saying.
In fact,
and like Bug Out was saying, if you don't have an extra barrel for your rifle, it's only going to last you so long. It's not your end all be all to be buried with. So,
well, if you're not training all the time, and you get a cold hammer forged barrel, that barrel will live longer than you will. But if you get a shitty barrel, and I'm not going to say Radical Firearms, I'm going to say some other company that because I don't want to put anyone out by name. But if you get a cheap, shitty barrel, you will really know quickly that you could have done better. Let's put it that way, you know.
Ghetto, I assume you're going to have a mule, because why wouldn't you have a mule on your property to protect everything? I'm just saying.
Mules are bad motherfuckers, dude. Yeah. My neighbor has 3 mules. Those things kill everything, man. They hate snakes. They hate them. Wolves, coyotes, they kill them. I don't know, dude. Donkeys and mules are just like they're like fucking Terminators, dude. I never knew that till I lived out in the middle of nowhere.
Maybe they know they're from like The Hills Have Eyes and they're really upset about their life. So they're just like, everything smaller than me is going to die. They're just really mad at themselves, you know? It's like, I am an abomination.
Hey, what were you talking about with Silverback just a second ago? I'm trying to remember, and it slipped my mind.
Oh shit, man. Hold on. I'm going to go up here to it. If I can even find it again. No, he was asking how many like parts kits basically and stuff you should have. But go, yeah.
What I was going to say about that, which kind of mirrors on you, I don't even care if I'm pushing them, man. If you go and get the extended and enhanced part kits from Sons of Liberty Gunworks, Sons of Liberty Gunworks makes they're not drop-in triggers. They're like almost like standard parts kits, but their stuff is not made out of what in the gun industry we call it Chinesium. But it's just like they're not shitty like base metal parts and stuff. Like Sons of Liberty makes like really good stuff. Get that, put that in your gun, and take the stuff that was in your gun and use that as your spare parts kit.
And
if that makes any sense.
That's sonsofliberty.com/bug out Bushido for your 10% discount. I'm just kidding.
Yeah, right. I don't even care, man. They make the best not drop-in, but they make the best parts kits like that I've ever seen, as far as like for the price, for the money. And you can go on the website and configure what you want. So you can scale it up or down. You can be like, I'm going Cadillac, just give me the best shit on earth, or like, I'm just trying to get a good set of parts or whatever. Dude, I'm just saying, man, I don't work for them and I'm not endorsed by them or anything, but like if you got one rifle and you want to do it right and you want that one gun to last you the whole fucking apocalypse, I would definitely be checking those dudes out.
You're going to see
their guns are too expensive.
Through the woods with like 15 rifles. Like, I'll make it.
Hey, can you guys hear me?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. I had to put my headphones in. I don't know. My speaker acted funny and like y'all froze on me. I don't know.
For Prepper 101, for straight up cheap parts, yes, AR-15s are mil spec. Anything you guys going to do for a 308, if you have an AR-10 or an LR-308 platform, DPMS platforms, get what your rifle is. If you have an Arrow 308, buy everything Arrow. If you have a Sons of Liberty 308, buy everything there. Never do some Frankenstein bullshit if you're building a 308. I'm just saying, I'm going to save you guys a whole bunch of fucking headaches. Buy extra parts for it, because AR-10 Armalite is one thing. And we call everything that, but they're not. They're DPMS lowers. They're LR308s, right? So all that shit does not combine. You can't get a parts kit from Arrow and use it on some, Armalite lower or some off-brand DPMS or whatever, because there's even that splits off. So stick with the same brand, because there's no uniformity in that. If it's 308, there's no uniformity.
Just saying. That is not reassuring. The only AR that I've ever killed in my entire life, dude, was a DPMS. And
most 308s are DPMS.
Yeah, and I do know that. And dude, it's weird because the 308, I've never owned one, so all my knowledge is vicarious. But like a guy here that's sort of, I guess you would call in the mag or whatever, but he got one from Wyndham, and dude, it was kind of wonky, man. Like it shot good, but like when I was looking at all the parts, I was just like, I don't know about this. And it's supposed to be good, I don't. That's what they tell me, but I don't know, man. Like the roll pins, where I was like looking at them and like I was drifting them back and forth, like kind of tapping them, and I was going like, man, whatever, that. What's your opinion on Wyndham 308s? Let's just do that. Like, do you think those are good guns or not?
Wyndham?
Yeah.
I don't have any experience with them, man. I
don't either.
Smoke up your ass, but I don't. The only thing I have, I've got some Palmetto and off-brand stuff that is DPMS, and I deal mainly with Aero Precision. So a lot of the stuff I do is that platform. I've had guys give me stuff to do work on, and I've had to give it back to them because I sit there for me. I'm an idiot. I grab it, like, yeah, I'll get it for you. And I don't check it right there on the spot, knowing that 308s are all different. I could have opened it and looked at the style and be like, that ain't got the parts for it, man. Because I don't.
Oh, dude, tell people about high shelf and low shelf for later carpet upholstery projects.
If you're going to, so DPMS has a high and a low. And it's going to be in relation to the railing system.
But if you're going to go to retrorifle.com and buy a bunch of parts that you're allowed to have, but you're never allowed to use, there is a high shelf and low shelf. Just something to look into. That's all I'm saying. We probably can't even talk about that here.
Are you talking about the high and low DPMS?
No, like the whole your standard AR, high shelf, low shelf, third hole, all that other kind of stuff.
Yeah. Okay. I was talking about a whole different style of 308 again, because there's a split for a high and low also for DPMS. That's why I said stick with the same brand and buy extra.
So if you only had
there's a guy down
3 different types of weapons that you would like stockpile for a community, what would they be? If you could only
22.
pick 3.
22.
22 would be a fantastic one. Think about the amount of people in this nation, not the world, but just in this nation, that actually have any fashion of body armor.
Even if they do. I mean, it's a lottery ticket. How many people have you seen got a through and through wearing full scaled up Eagle Cirrus vest, and they catch one from armpit to armpit, and you're like, dude, that was just meant to fucking happen. You know what I mean?
And nothing's more demoralizing than getting hit, but still, yeah. I mean, I was just saying from the very first standpoint, most people don't have armor, and you wouldn't even have to worry about it. Even if people, like you're saying, yeah, do pick up armor, 22's a good round depending on how far away you're engaging your target. I would have something in 9mm and something in 5.56, not 2.23, but 5.56, because you can utilize both. And if you're going to have anything in 308, have it in 308, not 7.62, because 308's the hotter round, and you'll be able to utilize both better.
And I would say if you classed out your stuff, like for example, if everybody's on the same page and nobody owns anything, I would pick one pistol bullet. You know,
that's what I was saying. 9mm. It's so,
and let's call it 9mm. You know what I mean? Yeah. So it's like, because to me, man, like, unless it's a 22 pistol, which is different, because then we're talking 22s. But like a pistol is a pistol is a pistol to me, man. I'm not a pistol guy. Like, I shoot them, don't get me wrong, but like, dude, a pistol is not going to do any of that work that you're thinking that a gun needs to do, you know?
Yeah.
And there's James Bond and all that shit, but I would much rather stop a guy at 200 yards than 25 yards. That's just me. You know, I don't want to like smell the dude's breath and watch the lights go out in his eyes and all that stuff. I'd much rather just have a dude that's standing and now looks like Beetle Bailey. That's perfectly okay to me, you know? But so pistol caliber, like preferred pistol caliber, and actually even preferred model. Like if everybody got the same model, and then now you have a huge dynamic magazine capacity, that would be great. Then you look at let's call it your 5.56 AR, you know, because everybody has one, you know, like, okay, boom, 5.56 ARs. But, you know, you got your AK people, and that's cool. But I would put in like roles, you know. So like a designated marksman, a 5.56 may not be the right choice. So he's in a separate class than everybody else. But your regular dudes, we're talking 5.56, 9mm, you got a 22, maybe you have a 12 gauge or some kind of shotgun or whatever. You know, I would say one person, if they're being a standalone, they're carrying 4 kinds of ammo, because you got to have a 22, because man, deer and hogs are going to be extinct in a month, and you're going to be living on cats and squirrels and bunnies and all that shit, that's 22 work. You know, you're going to eat off of your 22. Your shotguns are for like, you do find a hog and he's in the camp and he's mad and he's knocking shit over. Well, there's your shotgun, you know. Or what was that in the middle of the night, or what you take to the outhouse when you go take a dump. There's your shotgun with your light on it. Your offensive, defensive operations, your actual like kinetic human protection is your AR-15, you know. Then your pistol is something that you always have with you, because the second shit goes hot, you will never be without a weapon. And that's where the pistol comes in, you know.
Yeah. Bug out's gonna be the guy in an outhouse that all of a sudden a bear comes up on him and he's got his 22 and he's like, man, fuck.
Right. So as far as sidearms go, is a 9mm, is that better than a 40 just for ease of finding rounds?
You want to go first, Josh, or do you want me to do it?
I mean, there's a whole bunch of things. I'll do a real quick one, then you go, right? So depends on what you're trying to do. FBI did a study a long time ago that was trying to figure out the best round for law enforcement. 9mm is what they chose because they were going on temporary and permanent cavities inside of a body and over penetration and things like that, right? So no matter what you're going to get, whether it's 9, 40, 45 or anything like that, and I'm not a huge proponent of knockdown power and shit like that. I have 40 just because it's an in between, and I like it. I like to shoot it. 9mm is easier to shoot. 40's got more.
Dude, you're gonna be mad. You're gonna hate me, dude.
Oh no,
I apologize.
No, hate away, bro. I'm good. Anyways, I'm just saying there's a lot of people would choose 9mm. I don't care for 45 because of the carrying capacity. 40, yes. I felt like it was a good in between.
Me, best handgun bullet. I don't own one, but best handgun bullet. If I were to take one shot and have it stick, 45, easy, you know. But they're heavy, they're fat. You know,
what's the range difference between?
We're talking 800 feet per sec, dude. The range is like considerably lower than a 9mm.
They're basically already subsonic ammunition.
Yes, which is great if you're gonna use suppressed guns, which totally, if we start talking about people that are using suppressed weapons and going into night vision and all this other stuff, now suddenly the 45 comes back into play. But I'm talking for the regular dude, like the regular dude, I'm going for capacity. I'm going 9mm. Now here's the part where Josh is going to get pissed off, and I apologize.
I don't think I will. Go ahead.
The 40 has all the negative traits of the 9 and the 45, but none of the positive traits. So the 40 doesn't have the capacity of the 9mm, and it doesn't have the stopping power of the 45. It's in the middle.
I don't believe in stopping power, but go ahead.
Dude, stopping power is totally real. In the FBI,
yeah, but no one's up there with dual 45s knocking people off of a fucking rooftop in the OK Corral. You know what I'm saying? Like that, it's not the exact. I mean,
but the crime statistics show, like, for example, with a 9mm, there's like I think it's a 34% chance that if you shoot somebody one time, they fall down. That's what stopping is called. Let's get the chat educated on stopping. Stopping means they're not dead, but they're not fighting you anymore. That's stopping, right?
They're not on PCP.
Well, yeah. So you have like a 34% chance if you squeeze that trigger and that bullet hits the other guy, there's a 34% chance that guy's going to fall down, which means you shoot him 3 times with a 9mm, right? But there's like an 80% chance with a 45 that one bullet, if it hits him in the freaking elbow, he's going down. That thing hits like a bus. I mean, they're falling. They're going down.
So now I want to hear you argue your point, since you argued against 22 just now and told everybody to get 22. Tell me why now we should have 45. It is better than 40, but 22 is the all-around best round to have.
Because 22s are not ideally for people. It's for critters. You can still use a 22 to fight to engage people, but your 22 is what's going to feed you. That's I actually did cover that a second ago. 22s are going to feed you. Your AR is for people, you know.
Okay, so you're not talking about defense or anything with a 22, just having it for food.
In my idea, I bought a Smith & Wesson Victory, like tricked out competition 22 target pistol, you know.
Mhm.
Me and shit hit the fan. If I were to go on a patrol and I'm going outside of the wire, I just might carry that Smith & Wesson Victory over a Glock with my rifle, because I can fill a dump pouch with dead squirrels instead of empty mags. You know what I'm saying?
Okay. But I mean,
That's,
if you're hunting squirrels, you can retain the magazine in your pouch, though.
oh, I know. But what I'm saying is you walk up and there's a bunny sitting there. You pull your 22 pistol out and thump them with a subsonic and like throw them in your dump pouch and keep going.
Yeah.
Stuff's going to change, man. It's not going to be a military operation. It's going to be a mix between Daniel Boone and fucking SEAL Team 6. It's going to be weird because it's going to be like rednecks with fucking night vision, dude. It's going to be like some shit we never saw before. You know what I mean?
So what if you combine everything you just said? Let's say you, with the experience you have on top of it, you go out with a 45 and the guy behind you has experience with handguns, but he's never really been in a position where he's had to deal with it. So he carries a 22. So if you guys come across a chance to hunt something to eat that night, he takes it out. And if you guys need something for, I don't know, attacking.
Well, dude, a universal problem solver. Let's say you have a, what the hell is it age, meaning a 13-year-old kid, right?
Oh, yeah.
Boy or girl. They got a 10-22. Boom, we got 22 covered. We're fine.
Yeah.
You walk up, you hit a danger area, you cross the road, you look, and then you notice that there's a freaking coyote over there, and you look at the kid and you go, hey, here's your time to shine, man. Boom. Yeah, I'm all about that. And dude, the 40, dude, a bullet is a bullet, first of all. So I'm not really talking shit about 40, but what I'm saying is like I consider people that like 40 caliber weapons a cult,
I can see that. I'm not against what you're saying. I get what you're saying. For one, if you're going suppressed, 45 is better than 9 mil and anything like that. But I get the idea. I just don't like the carrying capacity. The reason I picked 40 is the exact reason you said it's a con. I picked the best of both worlds in my mind. I picked more.
Yeah, dude, it's all about how you look at it, for sure.
If you look at something better than a 40, you get a 10 millimeter. You know what I mean? And you can get that in the Glock too. And that thing, if you ever watched the ballistics on that, they're insane.
10 millimeter is a whole different world.
Mm-hmm.
That's
but it's the same size round. Same round.
It's just like a 38 Super, for example. And how that bullet never caught on is beyond me. But like, dude, the 38 Super was like just a crazy bullet, man. But it's like, don't ever buy one, because like, ammo, or like buying 45 Gap, for example. Like, who in the fuck would buy that gun? But whatever.
Yeah, there's a shitload of stuff out there. It's hard to say, man. At the end of the day, like you were saying before, having something's better than nothing. I am a huge Glock man. I know there's a lot of 1911 people in there. I'm a huge Glock man because they're very simplistic, they're easy to maintain, and they're easy to use. It's not Gucci. It's not some glamorous 1911 from the good old days of the frontier. Or, I'm talking shit, but I mean, you know what I mean? Like it's not some glamorous thing, but it's very, very it's used overseas for a reason.
Mm-hmm. I agree, but dude, there's nothing worse than the Glock guy at the range, though, where they say, man,
cultists are easy in anything.
Oh, dude, Glock is a cult if you ever saw one. Dude, a Glock is the best gun you could ever get. They're only $560, man. So you buy one and then you get a new barrel, you get all new parts, you get a new slide, and you get a new frame for it. Dude, it's the best gun ever. And I'm like, wait, you just told me to get a whole new gun. Yeah, that's what I mean. You get a whole new gun, then you cut it up, get a chop saw and chop it out and put an RMR on it. Oh man, it's the best. And I'm like, then it's not a fucking Glock anymore, dude. I like want to buy a gun and be done with it. Like, and they look at me and I have a stock Glock. Well, actually, it's not all the way stock, but it's mostly stock. I got like a rocket in one and I have a ghost trigger in the other. But like, I'm talking regular dude, fucking gun mod type shit, right? And they look at me and they're like, "Whoa, why would you use that gun?" And I'm like, "This is a Glock." And they're like, "No, it's not a Glock until." Dude, tactical fucking Glock shooters are the worst, dude. They're like the Karens of the gun world, man.
I built that little Gucci Glock because I bought a slide a long time ago and I had to do something with it, right? So
They're
I went.
beautiful.
Well, no, but I went stupid crazy with it. That thing is fucking well over $1,000 for a fucking pistol. You know what I mean? The one I carry has, I mean, I haven't even changed the sights to it. It's literally a completely stock Glock gun because I'm used to using that. I'm used to sighting in with standard sights and stuff like that.
All right,
Yeah,
let me throw
and-
a twist in there. Is obviously from a tactical standpoint, the more you can put in the gun itself is better. But is it better to have a revolver or to have a semi-auto?
I think
I'll jump on that if you don't want to.
I was just gonna say a lot of stuff goes more into the shooter than it does the gun. But go ahead.
Yeah, that's kind of what I was just going to say, actually. Like, a revolver is, it is very simple. And people, when they look at it, they understand it, which is a little different than a semi-auto because there's stuff that's happening that you can't see, you know? So for somebody that's not what you would call a gun person, a revolver might not be a bad choice. And everybody says that, and I know it's stupid, but the other thing is, like, you know, there are springs and a bunch of other stuff in a revolver too, and carbon can build up under the star extractor. So you, if you shoot a gun a lot, you're gonna get carbon buildup. But for somebody who doesn't shoot all the time and they just want something, a revolver is a pretty foolproof thing. Like, you know where the bullets are coming from. You're like, do I have a round in the chamber or don't I? They don't have to worry about that shit because it's just a revolver. You know what I mean? Like, you pull the hammer back, you shoot the fucker, you know, or you squeeze the trigger, whichever. Like, for somebody who's not a primary gun person, a revolver is not a bad way to go, you know? And then, like, for example, I don't want to out people, but like, over here, there's a maternity, she's a maternity nurse and she's kind of into guns, but she doesn't really shoot a lot, right? Revolver all day long. You know what I mean? Because, like, if you have a medical person that is in your life sustainment, like, category, do you want that person out there getting shot at? You know, like, that is somebody who I don't want in the fray, you know. And if they're using guns, something went wrong, you know, because we got a couple EMTs and stuff. It's like, we got some guys that have trauma shears stuck in their molly loops. You know, we got a couple of those dudes. So, yeah, revolver. Like, it's easy. It's easy to understand. Easy to operate. Fucking case closed, you know?
And no matter what you get, it doesn't matter. People can buy some $4,000 rifle with a tracking sight on it and all this kind of stuff. It doesn't matter if you don't have any skill in shooting anyways. If you can't manipulate your weapon, like you were saying before with snap caps and stuff like that, if you can't do drills and learn how to manipulate it and use the weapon, it's about as good as dirt.
Well, see, the way I grew up is the big thing was if you dry fired, you'd pretty much, you know, they'd rip your fucking head off. So now I'm seeing, like, nowadays is dry firing seems to be the way to train pretty much, isn't it? I mean,
well, you're talking
too much dry fire, fuck your shit up.
You're talking striker fire versus hammer fire, where a striker fire, it's not that big of a deal. But a snap cap alleviates that also. You can use your snap caps for dry firing, and it'll actually hit. There's a little spring on the fake primer. So it takes the whole thing is with a hammer fired weapon, it's like using an actual hammer and you're banging into your pieces, but it's not going into anything. So all that shock is going into your parts and not into the primer. You know what I mean? So a snap cap, if you have, let's say, a 1911, right, and you want to do a lot of dry fire training, a snap cap, just throw that thing in your barrel and it alleviates all the negatives of what the boomers always talk about with don't dry fire your weapon, you know?
Right.
Snap caps fix that too. But if you have a striker fired weapon,
snap cap is real quick.
It's those red bullets that I showed, they're fake bullets is what they are. And so being a fake bullet, it doesn't work. So if I load your magazine and you're shooting, and let's say you have 10 rounds, but I load your magazine in the 4th round, I put the snap cap in, it'll shoot 3 times and then it'll go click and it won't work. And then you have to do immediate action, tap, rack, bang, and do all that, get your gun back into battery and start shooting again. So if your gun fails in real life and you don't just stop and freeze and look around and stick your hand up, because the military, they had if your gun failed, for the longest time, you stuck your hand up and a guy that they trusted to look at the gun would go there and go, "Oh, you have a double feed. Here, let me fix that." Well, guys were going into combat, their guns were failing, they were raising their hand and just getting shot in the face, and they're just standing there and their gun failed and they raised their hand and said, "My gun doesn't work," and then a guy shoots them, So they were like, yeah, we need to work on that. And then they started making immediate action drills, which I don't know why they wouldn't have done that in the first place, but whatever,
That's the same reason they changed the targets. Remember that when it was just circle, like able targets and stuff like that, and they had to change it to silhouettes because people weren't shooting because they were killing something. But then when they made enemies just targets, it made everything more comfortable with killing.
That was why I made a bunch of targets of Zach holding a puppy. Just
the puppy every time.
I got to go take my kid. I'll be right back.
You do that. All right, so I guess the next question would be, I don't know how much of a shotgun guy you are, but as far as shotguns go for hunting and defense, 12, 16, or 20?
Dude, I love shotguns. And
you got that badass shotgun, don't you? I could have sworn was it you that had that badass fucking... You made a shotgun, didn't you?
Yeah. I mean, I got a... I mean, it all depends on which direction you want to go. Like, I have a Benelli, but I also have a 590. And it, like with shotguns, that's where you have to make that choice because you're losing something by going fancy on a shotgun. The simplicity of a shotgun is what makes it a good tool.
Right.
A shotgun is a lockpick. It's, depending on what you put in it, it can kill birds, it can kill deer, it can kill people. You know what I'm saying? I mean, a shotgun is like, it does a whole bunch of stuff. It is such a valuable tool that you can't discount it, But here's the thing though. Everyone wants the semi-auto badass shotgun. And I have one, so I can't talk too much shit because I threw money on one, but like, the real beauty of the shotgun is like you get yourself a really good, smooth, good capacity pump action shotgun. You can determine what your next round is by just sticking it in the feed chamber, in the magazine there. And like, if you need a frangible slug to bust open a lock, you throw a frangible slug in. If you see a bunch of birds and you're loaded with double aught, you pop that double aught out, you load some bird shot in, boom, you got some quail. You know what I mean? It's like, man, if
and you got a better choice of ammo too, because you can get the bean bags. You know what I'm saying?
I got so much dumb shit here. So much, dude. I like all of it, man. I got launcher rounds for it, and I don't even have anything to launch out of it, but I have launcher rounds because I could buy them, so I did. You know what I mean? Like. Right. And I'm like, what am I going to launch out of this thing? I don't know. But I'll tell you what, if I ever figure it out, I have rounds to do it,
Right.
But
soda cans.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, dude, you're telling me, man. There's a guy called, fake pen name, but his name was Ragnar Benson. And back in the 80s, he would write these books that were on like Paladin Press and all that stuff. But there was a thing that he wrote, and I never tried it, but he talked about turning a 12 gauge into an actual like grenade launcher by using wooden dowel rods and using a black powder launcher cartridge that he would reload out of an old like low brass beat up shell, So like people used to get creative back in the day. It's illegal to even think about shit like that now, but back in the 1980s, America was a different country where you were allowed to like exchange ideas and stuff. We're just not there anymore, It
brings around the whole fucking bump stop issue. You know what I mean? Stupid
bump stops are kind of dumb though. And like, while it was an infringement, so like
it's not
I'm not a fan,
but it's fun.
Right. It's and people that shoot for fun, I totally see why somebody would want one. The practicality of it, like for example, on a compound like this, if you're looking at like end game stuff, you don't want to see a bump stock. It's just, first of all, like you know, there's probably nothing that you'll ever encounter except if you're like an ECP guy where you would want anything other than a semi-auto rifle. I mean, like full auto is totally overrated in a rifle capacity, you know.
This is
Pretty
what,
much.
it's mainly what 3-shot burst is pretty much where you want to be anyway, isn't it? Somewhere in that range.
Well,
At least to maintain the target.
you know, that's what the A2s did, and the reason why they went to 3-round burst was like people were shooting at things and they didn't know exactly where the person was, and they didn't know, you know, like you're looking at muzzle flash and you're like pointing in a direction and you don't know what you're shooting at. The 3-round burst is kind of like turning your rifle into a shotgun, which goes right back to the shotgun argument. You know what I mean?
Right.
I mean, a shotgun already does that. It's like a shotgun is a 3-round burst. It just has, you know, up to 9 instances of a 9-round burst. You know what I mean?
Right.
If you're using double aught, but you want to use number 1 buckshot if you're going against people, because number 1 buckshot is the best anti-human buckshot that has ever been produced.
That's got to be close as shit, though, doesn't it? The spread on that would be ridiculous after a minute, though, you'd think, right?
Well, it is just a little bit smaller than a double aught, but that little bit smaller that it is, you can get more pellets in, so you're getting more weight out of the gun, you know? So there's more pellets, more spread, more everything. You know what I mean?
Right.
And a double aught is like, you know, the difference is negligible to shot size, but shot capacity per cartridge is better. You know, so number 1 is like fucking magical, dude. And go to the store and buy some, man. Shoot a piece of paper with with your 8 or 9 shot double aught, and then shoot it with your number 1, and you'll be like, oh shit, I totally get it now. You know.
I know there's shotguns to where you could switch the barrel out, but I don't. Like,
Oh, yeah.
I'm not a big gun guy, but like, is it
Almost all of them, dude?
Is it feasible to do that to where you could switch it from a 12 to a 20? You know, I mean, 16
Well,
is kind of pointless. You really
when you switch your barrels out on a shotgun, though, what you're doing is you're switching the length of your barrel. If you have a 12 gauge, it's going to be a 12 gauge no matter what, because the feeding mechanism and all that stuff. You know, you're
right.
God, what the hell is that called? You know, the little spring thingy that holds your rounds in and stuff. If you put a 20 gauge shotgun bullet into a 12 gauge magazine, it would just fall right out of the bottom. But you can take I'm trying to be legal here, and I forget what the legal barrel length of a shotgun is. I think it's 18 inches. So you can have an 18-inch barrel on a Remington 870, let's say. You can go hunting tomorrow. You can put a 24-inch barrel on it and have it stock and put a plug in it so it only holds 3 shots, and you can go hunting legally. But then you could take that same shotgun, put a 16-inch barrel in it, or an 18-inch, or whatever's legal, put a 5-round shot extension tube on the end of it, and turn it into a tactical shotgun in like 5 minutes, you know? So it can be both guns. And so not a bad choice, you know?
Is semi the way to go? Would you want a semi-automatic, or would you want just like full-blown 70s cop gun? Wood everything, you know, just simple, basic, pump that bitch, shoot, pump it, shoot, you know what I mean?
Well, how much does it rain in Missouri?
I don't know the statistics, but a decent amount, you know what I mean?
Because if you're going to go away from wood and go to plastic, like here in Florida, it's humid as fuck. In the rainy season, it rains constantly. If you were here, I would say get rid of wood and go to plastic. You know, but if it doesn't rain a lot, well, wood swells, you know, so wood suffers from moisture, you know.
But as far as remaking it, though, like if you're in a community and you've got a wood shop, can't you just pretty much remake your own stocks and all that shit?
If you're remaking them, then
feasible than trying to hunt down composite shit.
There's a lot that goes into stock building. If you're actually like shit, well, here's a semi-stock right here. So this is when I started. And just to take it from a bulk, this is a semi-finished one that I started working on to get the grip in and the diamond cutter and all that stuff. But you've got to shape every aspect of this, from the comb and all that kind of stuff. and even into the fore end. It's all a thick piece of wood. And if you're repairing something like this, so say there's a split, just straight down, right? When you're taking it apart and you're repairing it and using dowels and wood and compression, all this stuff, there's a lot that goes into actually repairing it. You could do it though. I mean, yeah, you can, just like any other kind of, craft or skill that's around. But
because he like
that's pretty badass that you're making that stuff though. That actually is pretty cool.
It's kind of fun. I don't have a lot of the. I mean, I got this tiny ass little shop, nice wood.
I know that's when I was in shop class back in the day when you were still allowed to do that kind of shit in school. That's we had a year that's where we literally that's all we did was build. I can't remember. It wasn't a 308, but it was bolt action. We were building bolt action stocks all fucking year long.
That's awesome,
dude. That's cool.
That's so cool.
That was the 90s though, when the world was all right.
I mean, I had woodworking class, but apparently I was a dweeb because we didn't do anything nearly as cool as that. We ended up doing the same thing everybody else did. You make a paddle.
Well, I went to schools that had like 300 kids from, kindergarten to high school. No more than
I was just about to say, man, like the school I went to, I had to go through a metal detector. So building a gun stock probably was not on the agenda,
Right.
We
got roughly 10 minutes left, guys. Anything else you want to rabbit hole or conversate about?
Dude, I hope I didn't steamroll this thing, man. I hope I didn't totally derail your
No,
thing.
You're good, man. Because this is like shit. That's why I know both of you guys are fucking G.I. Joe sons of bitches, and I don't know nothing about. You know what I'm saying? I know which end not to look in on a gun. You know what I mean?
Well, dude, I'm surprised you don't own a shotgun already. I got
a shotgun in a 22.
There you go.
But I got a 20 gauge breakaway. You know what I mean?
Do you hunt a lot over there where you're at? I mean, do you mess around with that?
I went coyote hunting. The last time I went hunting was coyote hunting, and that was probably 10 years ago, 10 years ago, somewhere in that range. Like I just don't. You know what I mean? Right.
But I'm surprised you haven't had to do like coyote, send the herd type shit where you're at, just being that you're kind of out there,
Oh, where we're at, we're lucky. We ain't got nothing big. Possums and coons is pretty much the only thing we got. The 22 takes care of that. When we had the 9, that worked, but it was overkill. So
you can get that 5.56 pistol.
Well, I got a 7.6 AK SKS up north at my old man's house. It's a 7.62. But it's too fucking big to bring down here.
Oh, I love the SKS, man. I love a stock SKS. Now you might have to put something on the stock. Well, dude, you definitely will. I'm 6 feet tall, and most SKS stocks are little to me. But yeah, dude, you put
it's weird feeling as shit. It's heavy as fuck, but tiny at the same time. It's just I don't know. It's weird.
But dude, a butt pad extension on an SKS, I love that rifle. It's so fun. Maybe because I just shot them so much, but man, especially the Yugos, those are my favorite because they got that little folding bayonet on them. And
yeah, it's a 1947 Czechoslovakian SKS 7.62. It's got the bayonet. It's got the fucking. It's got the mount for the tripod. We used to have the tripod. I don't know where the fuck it went. And then I ain't got no scope on it. It's just got the flip up iron sights. Just butt naked raw.
That's how they're good though. And there's guys like Uman, his preferred weapon is an SKS and he has it all tricked out and stuff. And that's, I mean, if you're going to do that, that's fine. But man, an SKS out of the box, you throw something on the back just to get another inch of relief on it. And those things will last forever. They'll never break, dude. I mean, a stock SKS is good indefinitely,
I think when we went hunting, we put a good 3,000 rounds through that son of a bitch.
Yeah.
In a weekend. We weren't fucking around. We're like, hey, it's moving, shoot at it.
It's amazing what those things will take, man. It's really cool.
It's another thing to consider too, because you get something like a 6.5, you're only putting 2,000 rounds through the barrel before you're gonna have to replace it.
Well, see, that's what everybody kept telling me, because we literally there's a pharmacy that literally had a Cracker Barrel full of SKSs, like $120 a piece all day long. You know what I mean? With this, I don't know. Again, 10 years, 20 or 13,
Yeah.
14 years.
Last week.
Right. So it's kind of like
dude,
everybody's like, oh, it's a cheap SKS, you know, it's Chinese and blah, blah, blah. You're only going to get so many clips through it and then it's trash. I'm like, well, I mean, we put some work through that son of a bitch and it's still, I mean, it need to be cleaned like a son of a bitch, but it's good.
But surplus guns are like, they're really a gem in the rough, and not so much anymore. But like it used to be, for 50, 60 bucks, you can get a rifle that was designed to last forever. And now the prices have gone up because there's not a lot of surplus weapons anymore. You know, like those old guns they've all been bought up and decommissioned or turned into $50 food stamps, you know, from these gun buyback programs and all that shit. But dude, there's a guy, if you're into that old stuff, there's a guy named Mike B on YouTube. He has Mike's Militario, which is a like a surplus site. So he has a website also. But Mike B is dedicated to surplus firearms. He has a channel that's all about it. And like, man, I'll tell you, it's pretty grim because he just keeps making posts that says, "Is the surplus firearm market dead?" You know, like 1 out of probably 8 posts that he makes is about just like the fact that it's drying up and you can't get cheap surplus guns anymore because they're just not out there anymore. And it's kind of a shame, man, because like, you know, you look at like in 1990, for example, like if I wanted to get a gun to play with, I could spend $100 and get a gun that would outlive me. And it just isn't the case anymore, you know? I mean, it's kind of sad, man, because now everyone's woken up to this shit and everybody wants a gun. Now there are no more guns, you know? It's like, it's crazy how that worked out. Like you could buy a whole barrel of SKS rifles back in the day for X amount of dollars. Can't do it anymore, you know? Those days are gone. And
remember how much AKs used to be like 12 years ago when they were $300 a pop?
Or dude, don't even talk about 12 years ago, man. Like the first AK that I bought was like $100 something bucks. I mean, I bought in 1997, I bought a Bulgarian SLR 95 and after taxes, it was $175. That gun now is like $1,900 or something, you know?
Yeah.
I mean,
it's really sad.
I should have never sold it.
I bought like 50 of those things and just held on to them till now.
I know.
Actually, you know what? No, I clarified till next election.
Right. Did you guys see Silverback's question about the changing caliber inserts? Let me see if I can...
Like having a 5.56 put in the 22. I think it's great for planking. Oh wait, what?
Multiple calibers in one game. Because I know I was looking at the there's a Taurus that is I can't remember the fucking name of it, but it's a beast, and you could literally do 22, 410, you know, 357, 40 cal, 45, and it's
there was the dude and nobody bought it, so it went out of business. But the Phillips and Rogers Medusa, man, if you could find one of those, they shot basically every pistol caliber almost. It was a really cool revolver. It was a revolver, and anything from like your 380s to you know, anything in the 7.62 to 9mm category that was like pistol sized, you know, 7.62 by 25, all that crap. It would shoot all of it. Pretty cool, man. But as far as inserts, a good one to look at if you're into buying ammo and you want a really hot thing, there's a thing called a 22 TCM, and I think you can switch it out with I forget what the other bullet is. It's 22 TCM and 45, maybe something like that. But there's another bullet that it shoots. There was a friend of mine that had one, and you could have your regular barrel in it where you bought your regular ammo, but that 22 TCM was hot as hell. It was like a 357 SIG kind of bullet, you know what I mean? Or a 5.7 kind of, you know? There's a lot of barrel switches that make sense. And if you get a 40 cal Glock, you can get a 9mm barrel and the thing will work, you know? But the 9mm won't go to 40 cal, I think. So if you're buying a Glock from scratch and you're thinking long term, get the 40 cal and then get the 9mm barrel for it, and then you have both, so that way, like when POTB like has a coronary cut in the grass, you can take all its bullets.
As far as a practical use though, like is it super tiny parts that you need to switch out? Because like,
no, on the Glock, I
one
think
I've ever seen is the Taurus one, and it's got like little clips that you got to put on each round to make it fit inside. You know what I mean? And it's like I'm going to lose those on day 2, or you know what I mean?
I mean, it depends on gun to gun. Like I had I still wish I had it, to be honest. There's so many guns I got rid of that I regret. I had a Tokarov, like a TT-33. It was a Polish Tokarov. It's a 7.62 by 25 gun, which is a better bullet than the 9mm by far. I don't know why that never caught on, but it was a Soviet round, so it's what the commies used and nobody liked it or whatever. But you could also just switch the barrel out and they would shoot 9mm because the case head was identical from the 7.62 by 25 to the 9mm. So you change the barrel out, the same magazine, same everything. It would feed 9mm just fine. So I bought it. I had a case of 7.62 by 25, but when I went to the range, I would shoot 9mm because it was so cheap back then to get 9mm that it was just like free almost. So that was like, there's sometimes where it makes sense and sometimes where it doesn't. It's like, what are you switching to or what are you switching from? But the 22 caliber inserts that Josh was talking about, that makes perfect sense because in training, man, like if you're shooting 5.56 these days, you're going to go out of business. I haven't shot in forever, man. It's been a while since I've shot, since this whole ammo apocalypse started, to be honest. I haven't shot in probably a year. Easy,
Damn.
Like at all, dude. I know it's terrible to admit. But
there's people that haven't shot a lot longer than that, and it's a fucking perishable skill. I mean,
Yeah.
obviously it's harder. You build up enough, it's not going to go away as fast and things like that. But for the average person that doesn't shoot a lot,
the Taurus range. Here, I got to make myself big for a second. I'm an attention whore, y'all. That pretty son of a bitch. It's got that red stripe on the handle. It's Taurus Raging Hunter.
What is that, a vibrator?
no, the red stripe, it makes the bullets go faster.
Yeah.
That's why red cars get pulled over so much, because they're faster.
That's the way I can identify it, because
Right.
it's like every one I've seen has got that red stripe down the back. I'm like, oh, that's the one I'm looking at.
I'll say, no matter what, I mean, you're talking about going back to the whole community thing. I think having multi-caliber whatnots is not going to be very beneficial because you're not going to walk around, like you said, with a whole bunch of different components on you just to change out calibers to be able to shoot whatever. You're going to pick up whatever's on the ground. If you're in that dire need, you're going to pick up whatever you can or get whatever you can. But so, I mean,
well, there's also the concept of representing around. So, like, let's say you have a 40, right? Which you do. So, I mean, that's not a stretch. But let's say you have like a budget. Let's say you have a Taurus 9mm just kind of sitting in a box somewhere because you can eat what you come across, So there's a big influx of 9mm. Like, you make a deal, you trade a couple of pigs or something and you get a big old giant crate of 9mm bullets. You're like, well, shit, I got something that'll feed those, and you can switch to a 9mm for a while until that ammo dries up, and then you go back to your 40. You know what I mean? Like, what, dude, The Road, the book, The Road, that I forget who was talking about that the other day on a live stream, but somebody brought up The Road, and in that book, he has a 357, and he finds a box of 45, and he's just like, oh my God, I can't shoot this. I have a gun and I have bullets, but they don't go together, So
I could see it in that aspect. I get you. That's you said getting a bucket of ammo from somebody for some pig. Man, that's going to be the hardest thing for me to ever do is trade anything for ammunition, because I don't trust a fucking person that they didn't reload it themselves and they seated it too far or they made it too overpressured or anything. I don't trust it. Hell, if I'm a malicious motherfucker, if I was really trying to get someone over, I would just take ammo and make the top like 200 rounds all good ammunition, and underneath that it's a whole bunch of shit filled with dirt instead of fucking powder. And I'd be like, check this out, and I just start loading out of the bucket and shoot it, and they'd be like, oh, it's fantastic, and they take it and be fucked after 150 rounds.
Yeah,
because I'm trying to get mine. And I'm just trading. Well, unless I want to continue trading with somebody.
Well, that way, when you sell them the ammo, you can go maraud them later and know they only got 200 shots.
Right.
Yeah, but what if those people take that ammo and use it for training and they realize the rounds don't work? And then while you're sleeping that night, they show up and they machete you into pieces and peel all the skin off your face and make a baseball mitt out of it, while you're like sitting there watching them.
Hopefully I don't live at the same place I'm fucking over.
Right.
Because if that's true, then I deserve to die.
I'm just saying, there's no world too small. If that happened to me, I would find that dude.
Oh, I bet.
Right.
I bet I'd be like, you'd see me on the road and shoot without asking. I guarantee it.
All right, I'm gonna ask one more autism question, and then we'll probably go ahead and call it. As far as reloading goes,
to answer.
That's fine. As far as reloading goes, is it obviously it would take less grains in a 9mm than it would in a 40, right? Would it? And then how easy is it to reload shotgun shells?
Shotgun is the easiest. Dude, shotgun, do it. Go ahead, Josh. You know way more about this than I do, but I'm like retarded and I can reload shotgun shells. So
No. I'm all for it. No matter what, you're going to have a lot of components. If I was going to learn to reload anything, someone in your community should know how to reload anyways. If you have the money, learn how to swage ammunition. You can make your own bullets and stuff like that, 4, 5, 5, 6 and stuff like that with 22 shells. You know what I mean? You can take the casings from 22 and make bullets. So there's a lot of stuff you can do. Shotgun shells are fairly easy. You can get there's a lot of different things you can use for different wads and different components. You can be very, very creative in shotgun rounds when you're filling in for not propellant, for your projectiles and stuff like that, and for your fillers. You can use flour. You can use a lot of different things to fill in the gaps between the pellets. So there's a lot of stuff you can do, but you have to have the components. You have to have the holes. So no matter what, you're going to have to have products. If you want to learn in my mind, a really valuable skill, learn how to cast. Learn how to cast bullets, because people will always be able to make some kind of firearm to be able to shoot something out of a tube. You know what I mean?
Right.
And dude, I keep meaning to do a video on this. I have a campfire casting little setup that I mess around with.
Yes.
And I use aluminum because lead is like, how many degrees is lead? I forget. It's like 900 or something.
I've got the paperwork, I can tell you. but
aluminum,
what you mix it with too, because there's different components you put in it to make it harder or softer and stuff. Anyway, sorry, good.
What do they use? Like bismuth and lead is like pretty much what your shot is these days.
There's a couple different things.
So for me, my test, if I'm going to be like survival living and go out there and like, show my ass on camera, the whole test is if you can melt and cast aluminum, you can melt and cast lead all day long, because that's the next step up, right? So you take a blow dryer and some pipes and get some lump charcoal, but you get a crucible, some welding gloves, and some good tongs, and like you just go out there and you mess around. And it's really difficult and it's really time consuming, because what you have to do is drink a shitload of beer and get empty cans, and then you melt it and then you pour it, and you learn how to cast, and it encourages alcohol consumption, which is good because that's good for the environment. So fuck yeah, dude. All about cast and shot, man.
It doesn't matter with like the aluminum or the lead. It doesn't make a difference for the actual tip, right? Because I know like my old man at the scrapyard, we take the tire weights and melt them down into fish hook weights and shit. Same kind of principle.
Yeah. And for a shotgun, it doesn't matter. Now, if you're talking revolver, the hardness.
The right filler.
Yeah, but for a shotgun, it doesn't. It makes no difference what you put in that thing. That the wad is going to push it out. So it's basically having its handheld. And Josh was talking about the flour that sort of mitigates the it like bumping hard into each other and deforming the bullet. So like there's little tricks you can do. Dude, I made rounds out of costume jewelry and fake pearl necklaces. I made rounds out of little plastic army men before and shot them at stuff. I mean, it's like totally, you can use anything.
Yeah. There, you can be, you still, but the only thing that kills me is for all that stuff. And it's good to know because the supply that's out there right now, we've had so many political scares and all that stuff that has made us mass produce so much ammunition that there is such a massive influx of it all over. It'd be a while before we really went out. So it's a good skill to have regardless. You're going to find it, especially around our areas. You're going to find it. It's going to be fucking everywhere. I go to my friend's house. I'm going to pull a gun out of his fridge, and I'm not exaggerating. Like it's everywhere. So but I mean, for shotgun, yeah. I still go back to, man, I'm all with you on casting. You're going to take something, you're going to shoot it out of there. It's just whatever the hardness factor is for the materials that you mix in with it. And I can't remember off the top of my head what the materials are, Bucket. I think you were talking about it, but there's lead, alloy, and something else that you can mix together to change the hardness.
Well, the environmental people out there are pushing to get rid of lead, and for good reason. I mean, lead is not lead is toxic. Like we know this now. It's like no mystery. So they're trying to replace lead. I think it's bismuth is what it is that they make the shot out of now, and it's sort of like lead, and it behaves kind of like lead, and its melting temperature is kind of similar to lead. So it's like, why not? But dude, tire weights is something that if somebody's in around that industry, or if they're a car guy or whatever, they probably have either a mason jar to a bucket full of those things, and those things work just fine for shot. You can use those things all day long.
Does that obviously you'd have to practice with each one. Does that change it'll change the weight of the bullet depending on what you use as the tip, right? Does that affect your fly rate? I guess
you're looking at impact. You're looking at impact too. A spherical round's gonna fly like that. When you start changing in anything that's gonna have some kind of a Spitzer round or whatever with a boat tail or when you start changing and elongating around, it's gonna fly better than a ball. A ball is gonna fly like a ball. You know what I mean? A slug's gonna fly harder than that, and things like that. The 30 mil or the 30 cal balls and stuff like that. When you're looking at shot, is gonna go out in patterns, and they're gonna fly. Everything flies different, and depending on what it's made of, is going to impact differently and deform it. And deformation, if you have something too soft, can give you wildfires and things like that, and change like the pattern. But you can get so far into ballistics, it's not even funny. The long story short is being able to make a projectile and shoot it at something. That's
actually really long story short, all the negative traits that you just illustrated on that round shotgun projectile.
Mm-hmm.
Imagine this, dude. You're talking long bullets and boat tails and projectiles and stuff. There's a whole world of math you don't have to do if you reload shotguns, because you're just using round projectiles. Like, you can be the dumbest dude on earth and reload shotguns.
Well, that's what I'm saying. In the end, long time down the road, if you're able to make your own, jerry-rig shotgun ammunition, I mean, you can get away with a lot. The first firearm that was ever used, the very first firearms that were ever used, were used to scare troops and scare horses. They were never even used to take down anybody. They were used just to shoot and scare. And it was a fear factor kind of thing. So, I mean, you go any further than that and you're golden in the future. If you're in some kind of really bad position where stuff wasn't being manufactured anymore and you couldn't get your hands on it.
So basically, the thing to get right now would be powder and fire
primers.
Oh,
load up.
Yeah, if you're gonna,
That's dude. Primers are already the primer apocalypse started when Obama got elected, and I'll tell you what, man, it never really got back to normal. it from Obama till now, it only got worse, pretty much. You know, like there were some couple moments where you thought the sun was parting through the clouds, but then something else would happen. Dude, people are buying primers out the ass. So if you can ever find primers, even if they're not the primers that you're looking for, pick them up. You know, because
'Cause
like
I know the pawn shop in town they've got about 6 Ziploc bags of empty brass, and they got 2 Ziploc bags of nothing but primers. I
In
was
a bag?
"Man." Yeah, they're just sitting in glass. I mean, they're not the best pawn shop in the world.
No, I know, but it's primer cups just sitting.
No, the brass is in a bag. The primer's in like boxes.
Oh, I thought you were saying
Yeah.
that Ziploc bag just full of like loose primers. I was like, for word.
let's see here. Let me see if I can. This I mean, God, I hate these cameras, man. There we go.
Bang.
A box like
Like-
that.
You know, this it has what, like 500, I think, or 1,000. Yeah, this is a box. I can make 1,000 rounds out of this one box of primers. You know,
Mhm.
so like, you know, I can reuse the holes X amount of times. I can improvise the cups if I had to, but the primers, dude, like you're going you now that the scientist on Gilligan's Island could probably make primers pretty easy, but I'm not that guy. Like I have to have primers, so I'm a little more hyper focused on primers than I am. I can improvise anything else. Primers I gotta have, you know. And I use primers
never
for my
attempting to make primers. That'd be fucking dangerous.
my 40 mil launcher uses shotgun primers too, so I can share it with my 40 millimeter launcher when I make rounds for that too.
You got a 40 millimeter one?
Yeah, they're fun, dude.
Not the 39. You got a legit.
No,
40.
no, it's a 37. It's a 37,
Or
but it's
37. Yeah. Okay. I'll
so
damn.
I don't have an actual. I like the SWAT team stand down. You know,
no. Well, you said 40 millimeter launcher. I was like, legit.
no. It's a 37, but I'm saying like those things are like tons of fun. I love those things. That's what I shoot for fun. Like I'm beyond guns aren't really like fun for me anymore. Shooting like dumb shit like a hand cannon 37 millimeter launcher is fun for me, you know.
This sounds fun.
And then okay, here's the last question real quick.
Didn't you say that?
I know, shut up. As of right now, how hard is it? Do you have to have a special license to be able to get powder or a certain amount of powder, or can just any civilian go get powder?
You can, but they're getting weirder with that, you know.
I mean, I guess a lot of it would depend on where you live, because I mean, you buy.
Well, I mean, there's a lot of people around here who go deer hunting with the black powder, but
Yeah.
you know, I've never met anybody.
Never
or
use
been
black
with
powder and
anybody.
substitute it for smokeless powder.
Dude, I love black powder. Like Pyrex is really the thing now, but man, if you can find black powder, like good old fashioned black powder, like it's to have a couple pounds of that, it's useful in a lot of different things, you know.
Not in reloading.
No, not in smokeless powder guns, but what I'm saying is, not in outside of the gun world,
Yes,
smokeless powder is also, or black powder is also useful.
Oh, hugely. Yeah.
You can actually it can help if you're trying to get nitrates. You can use it as fucking fertilizer if you had to, you know.
I didn't know that.
It's mostly made out of naturally occurring stuff, you know. That's kind of the cool thing about black powder. It's organic, you know. So you can take it to Starbucks and show it to people, and they'll congratulate you for it.
Right. See, that's what I was thinking, because I mean, obviously, it had to be something simple for when the time period that they made it. But I don't know stuff like that. They can blow your face off if you add too much or too little, or it's off by a micro inch. You know, it freaks me out. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Well, dude, a black powder weapon is not a bad thing to have either. You know.
No.
Especially those piston fired ones that use like the little friction igniter where you're not using the caps, which I think is almost all of them that you can buy now. But I haven't bought a black powder gun in ages. So, but like, man, I was thinking about that, like, making the projectiles for a black powder weapon is just like making projectiles. What I'd like to get is I want to say it's, what is it, 18 millimeter is a double lot projectile, I think, or something like that. Or no, it can't be 18. That's fucking stupid. No. Dude, I was trying to think of what the caliber of a double lot projectile is, and I forget what it is. But like, if you had a black powder gun that shot that caliber, you would be aces, dude, because you could use the same shot cast for your double lot that you're loading your shotguns with to feed your black powder gun too. That would be pretty cool.
It's 30, isn't it?
Yeah, it's something like that. I can't remember. And dude,
I'm looking it up because I'm drawing a blank, bro.
I have a chart and it's on my phone, but I'm on my phone now. So if I go to it, I'll hang up and like, I'll look like a retard.
But it's like one shot, then completely redo the entire setup.
Yeah.
One shot. So it's like.
But if you take one shot at a deer and you miss, it's gone anyway. So,
right.
Yes, a deer.
And then, so the powder that you use in reloading is different than the powder that you use in a black powder rifle.
Well, the pressures are different, and that goes into your borderlines of your HE and LE type stuff. Smokeless powder burns a lot faster and creates a lot more pressure. So a black powder gun is a lot lower pressure. It burns slower. So, I'm not saying black powder is safe, because nothing is safe, but I mean, if you took a metal container and put a bunch of smokeless powder in it, it would make a way bigger boom than black powder. Let's put it that way.
It's like torque compared to horsepower kind of situation.
Right, because it's producing more gas and hotter, faster, and all that other shit.
All right. Well, that was my final question. We are almost at 2.5 hours. You guys killed it. I appreciate both of y'all. We covered a lot of shit. Educated some folks, I think. The ladies are trying to take this whole thing off the rails.
Oh God.
POTB is getting sexually harassed. I can't let him be abused, y'all. I got to go ahead and kill it. All right, like real shit. Y'all killed it. I appreciate both of y'all. Chat, I appreciate y'all. Next week we will be back at it again. Thursday, 7 o'clock in the only time zone that matters.
Central.
And we will be talking with Ghost and Milkmaid if she doesn't blow us off again. And we'll be talking livestock next week. So, all right. Appreciate y'all.